Another
Yeah.
Sunday, another weekend gone, and another Monday morning yet to come.
Yeah.
Sorry, hey, welcome to Geeky Geezers, everybody.
Time keeps on slipping into the future.
Grab your Fixodent denture cream. The Geeky Geezers are about to leave the station. Hang on for the ride.
Yeah.
You know, I have to say, it just dawned on me recently that really it's the Zoomers are now the young people in their 20s now, not the millennials.
Yeah.
Maybe you haven't realized that. Maybe you realized that yourself.
I hadn't really thought about it, but you're not wrong.
It's now
yeah.
the Zoomers now. It's not even the millennials aren't the young people anymore.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I wonder if the Zoomers are more like Gen X. I don't know. I don't know too much about them. Maybe I have Zoomers in the chat, though. You can raise your hand if you're one. Thank you, Big Al. Welcome. Have fun, Stream Geezers. Interested on your review of Supergirl casting. Rest in peace, Carl Weathers, indeed.
Yeah.
We'll be getting into that later. But first chat of the night, I think, was Joshua V. is watching Rocky 4 on HBO 4 days before Carl's death. Creed's death now feels more eerie to me because of it. Rocky 4 is what got me into the Rocky films. Yeah, it was my first Rocky film too, actually, oddly enough, even though I think I'd seen parts of 3 before I saw 4, but yeah.
I'm not sure that I saw 1 before I saw 2, but 2 was the first one I saw.
Hello, the chat. Welcome, Rise and Talker. Welcome, Matanui. I'm telling you, we're losing the greats. Welcome, Netter of Netters Network.
I think what hurts the most is I don't feel like we're replacing the talent. You know, we are losing talent that is not being replaced, and they're not coming back.
Well, let's be honest here. Who was a possible fill-in for like a Carl Weathers type was that actor Jonathan Davis, and now he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, because he was in one of the Creed movies, and then not long after that, now his career's over now.
Yep.
Welcome, D. Pensec. Thank you, Aged Boomer, for all the titles you gave on Friday night. You know, I appreciate that. Yeah, check out. I need to put a link in the chat. Sorry, a link in the description. When I was on Troy's stream on Friday, check it out. I gave kind of a quick overview of many of my favorite Italian movies of the 70s and 60s and 70s, the more exploitative types. Some are actually genuinely great movies, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Then others are like The House at the Edge of the Park, which go to places you may not want to go. What's wrong with David Hess?
They are all a question of what you're in the mood for and what you are prepared to handle.
What's interesting about House at the Edge of the Park, I want to say that's either 79 or 80. It has a very 80s feel to it. Like that early, like the whole yuppie thing going on, right? And like, because there were Italian movies being made even into the 80s, and they had a different feel than the one from the 70s. Kind of unnerving in a different way. Like, it's hard to explain. Like, they feel very European, but like more so what Europe was going. I made a joke when I was watching Demons 2 once, the movie Demons 2, that the Italians were more 80s than we were. That makes sense. If you see some scene.
In a way, yeah.
But
I think it was.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure. I'm pretty well. You know what? I'm actually on the page. I can take a look. Yeah, I think it was Kyle Cullen was. He actually left comments saying, "Yeah, you know, thanks for the good suggestions of films and whatnot."
Oh, great! Well, excellent. No, they're all worth checking out. A lot of great. This is where like the boutique labels come into play with Blu-ray. How like it's now the new vinyl. Like you have Severin. They put out some. Actually, I was very proud of Severin. They restored Suspiria by getting the original cinematographer. The restoration was so good. Arrow Video in Europe, I think, licensed it out to release over there because so win one for the United States for once. You know, we actually did well in restoring Suspiria. But a lot of labels. Arrow puts a lot of good stuff out. Synapse put out the Lady Frankenstein. I think it's in one of their box sets. You know the Lady Frankenstein. I was bringing it up when we're going to get into that news later.
You sent me a trailer for that one. Yeah.
Lady Frankenstein. Oh, she's like her father, except super hot. That's what I want to say.
Well, I mean, you know, if you're gonna have a granddaughter character, yeah, maybe you know, spruce up the eye candy there.
And in the trailer, it was a Roger Corman produced movie, though it was made in Italy. I think Joseph Cotten was Victor Frankenstein in it, though. And I think it's like the trailer keeps saying, "What is her strange desire?" And I think she wants to get the brain of the smart guy, the smart doctor, but he's like older, and he wants to put his brain into the young hot guy's who's like the simpleton's body. Do you understand? But like he was nice looking on the outside, so she wants the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and you know, if you have that ability, I think scientists would absolutely do that. You know, I mean, that's why people are so, you know, skittish about, you know, AI and robots and stuff. It's like, okay, we know what they're going to do with that. We're getting an unscripted raid, which is perfectly fair, because as soon as this is over, we're going to go and hit the head and top off our glasses and get over to his stream for After Midnight.
Yeah, check it out. Let me see here. Lady V Elements, and who else? Rise.
I mean, we got to enjoy deleted scenes while we can. He's growing so fast. Pretty soon, he's going to be one of those big YouTubers, and you know, he won't have time for us little guys anymore.
He's going to be smoking cigars and expensive martinis, and saying Troy who,
and he'll have a whole staff, and he'll be throwing stuff at them when they don't, you know, pick out all the red M&Ms or whatever, you know.
Of course, because of course those were cancerous, right? Remember the red M&Ms were cancerous? Remember that bunch of BS? Was that ever proven true?
Here, it is just like today, where, you know, you follow the science, but nobody actually pays attention to what's actually in the science. If you actually read the studies for that one, I think it was red number 5, that caused cancer. You know how they tested to find that it caused cancer in laboratory mice?
Yeah, how?
They fed them an exclusive diet of red dye number 5 in quantities so high that even a human could not eat that much in a lifetime.
So stupid.
And it basically, you know, turned them into goo. And it's like, well, no shit. You know what? You put enough water into someone, they're going to friggin' drown. You know, there's actually something called water toxicity. You put enough quantity of something into someone, it's going to kill them.
Ridiculous.
That's not how science is done. But when that science is being paid for by, you know, certain people that have an interest in how that study turns out, somehow they manage to find the data they need. That's the science they want you to follow, people. Just keep that in mind.
Hello, Lady Miss. Remember, oat bran was supposed to be so healthy for you, too? That was the other thing they kept pushing, oat bran.
Yeah, I guess.
Yes, that was a fad.
Well, I mean, you know, the whole thing about breakfast. You know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now dietitians are starting to say, actually, fasting is good for you. Intermittent fast is good for you. Yes. And if you skip breakfast and end up having less calories in the course of the day, so much the better. Why was breakfast the most important meal of the day? That was a marketing deal with the dairy industry and the grain industry. They wanted you buying cereal and eggs and cheese.
I always figured it was because of the farms, and farm workers would burn up a lot of calories, so they'd have a decent breakfast. Their big meal, I think, was the lunch, which maybe they called supper instead. They'd have that midday. That was the real big meal, and then they'd have a smaller meal for dinner, I think. That's how it used to work back in the farm days. But
well, do you know any farmers? Ask a farmer what their breakfast is like. You're not going to find the stereotypical, you know, eggs and lard and bacon and all that before they go out and do all kinds of work.
Really?
Because think it through. You got your stomach full of that stuff. Are you going to feel like running around your acreage and, you know, lifting bales of hay and shoveling shit? No. No, you're going to eat something light, you know, enough to give you some energy, you know. And get through your day. If you start to get a little tired, maybe have yourself a little lunch. People don't think, you know, they just... And this is the other problem. Let's regulate things because everyone is exactly the same. And everyone, you know, needs the same medication, the same diet, the same everything.
No, I'm actually a
And if you don't comply, you don't believe the science. And you should be ostracized and lose your job.
I'm actually a believer that people actually have different dietary needs. Like I
Yes.
think, like Michaela Peterson was interviewed, and she had to go on like the carnivore diet, and that made her healthy again.
Yeah.
You have other people that I guess are vegetarians, and they don't like to eat, and maybe it's just because their body doesn't like to process it like other people. I think people know what they like and know what agrees with them, what doesn't agree
Well,
with them.
and
Yeah.
I got news for you, people. If you change your diet suddenly, you're going to react strongly to it. The flora in your gut, is built on the diet that you have. If you're feeding it, chips and cookies and candy, not only is that what you're going to crave, but then when you switch to something like a vegan diet with a lot of salads and greens and maybe a bit of meat here and there, you're going to feel nauseous because you don't have the gut flora to handle it. But which one do you think is healthier? Do you think because you're not feeling too good right now because your diet just changed, this stuff they're telling you is healthy isn't? No! It just means you've been eating crap all this time and you got used to it. Chili with crushed Oreos. Well, if it works for you, buddy, go for it.
Yes, but anyway,
hey, I put beer in my cornflakes.
Actually, I had a decent meal. We had a roast chicken dinner, so I had some roast chicken.
There you go.
That's always nice with some mashed potatoes and some broccoli and some stuffing. There we go. Don't have that too often. That's like a special treat. So
is that our good old days talking about some of the foods that we like?
No, we're gonna get into that.
Makes me think of this whole conversation. Made me think about Yukon Cornelius from Rudolph. You eat what you like, and I'll eat what I like.
It's weird. I was on a meat kick a few weeks ago. I kept wanting to get jerky, but now I'm kind of off it. It's weird. Look at this. This is our good old days for tonight. Predator.
Good movie.
You've seen this, I hope.
Otherwise, God, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, God, yeah.
I remember this was probably right before he peaked.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe right before he peaked. He was definitely a star at this point.
Yeah.
Big fan of this movie. I think I was finally aware of Arnold by the time I saw this movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what it was about. You see, back then we didn't have this thing called the internet. So even if you miss something in a theater, if it comes on TV, you're going to put it on and you're going to be like, "Oh, what's this? It looks like Arnold's playing a commando." And they're going.
And that was, and let's face it, he was, right?
Yeah.
And a poster like this is very, very intentional, right? This was the marketing department going, soon the hunt will begin, right? That's a very leading kind of comment.
You don't know what it is.
The picture doesn't tell you anything. You're going, okay, this could be a war movie, but then you see the background and you're like, I wonder if there's some science fiction element in it. Don't know, right? And think about this movie, because a lot of y'all have seen it many, many times. There's no big surprises there. But if you're seeing it for the first time, going into it not knowing the whole background, when you start to realize, oh, this is an alien, that's, a bit of a surprise. That's a spoiler kind of a thing.
So the movie starts out, I think it's some sort of special ops team being led by none other than, I believe, Carl Weathers, if I remember. There's a funny scene where him and Arnold shake hands, and it's like, and they're testing each other's grip, and it's like whose biceps are bigger.
And it's become a meme. Well, here's the interesting thing. It wasn't just what you saw in the movie. Apparently, the behind the scenes on it was that there was a bit of a competition regarding bicep size and exercise and so on and so forth. And what would happen is Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger and I'm forgetting who was the other guy, the wrestler guy.
Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura. They would try to, just like in a Japanese office, right? Try to get in before the boss. They try to get in before the other guy, so that, you got your exercise in and you were already pumped up by the time the lazy other guy comes in, right? and they pull fast ones, right? Where, they'd get there just before the other guy and then they'd splash themselves with water and make it look like they'd been working out so hard, and they had really just started, and there's a lot of stories like that,
I'm reminded to see the movie where Jesse Ventura has the chewing tobacco and it says, "Here, have some." this will turn you into a sex tyrannosaurus, and he says, wipe this on your sore ass. Remember that? It's like, just oh man, this is like 80s action movie. The dialogue between the men in the beginning of this. So they're like a special ops team, and I guess they've been sent in to what? Help some. I don't know. They're getting sent into a South American country to do some business. That's the.
And it's another one of those situations where, and you get the impression from dialogue that there's a lot of history. These guys have a lot of backstory. You don't need to see it all. We don't need a prequel movie. You know, we got it from the dialogue, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's. I mean, I don't remember the lines exactly, but like same shit, different day or whatever. No big surprise. You know, we have no idea what we're getting into. Par for the course. You know, what do we know? Let's do it. You know.
Right. Exactly, and I don't know. I just there's some confusion at first, right? If you recall, they find some people skinned alive.
Exactly.
So they're thinking it's the rebels or whatever did this, and then they find this girl, and she's like, she can't talk, like she's like, because she's terrified.
Yeah.
And so, and then I think they find an actual like military compound, and they start taking out those guys, right?
Right.
So we get an action sequence there. But then we realize later on that no, the guys that got skinned alive, they weren't taken out by those other guys. They were taken out by a predator in the forest.
Right.
And this thing, you don't even know what's going on in the movie when when basically the shit hits the fan, right? This is like I think one guy's chest explodes out of him.
Right.
And you don't know where the
I think the initial implication is and from their point of view, you don't immediately go, "Oh, we're fighting an alien." You go, "We're fighting an unknown enemy, human or group of humans." And then you start thinking, "Oh, and they have military weapons that we don't know how they work, right?
More advanced than like the U.S. government had at the time or something."
Right. So this is this maybe this is a black ops that we're on, and we're gonna have to bring this intel back or something like that. That's what you start out thinking.
Yeah, it was a rescue mission to say the first scene that went in. That's when they finally hanging up. I remember, and of course, then eventually one of them actually sees this camouflage character, but it's like what thermoptic camouflage, where it's like you can see it moving around, but then if he's still, he perfectly blends in.
Which is great. Which is great sci-fi because you could totally believe, and in fact now we're starting to make that come true, right? Bending light around you, yes, it's going to be warped, but it's the ultimate camouflage, right?
Yes.
So they could totally look at that and go, okay, advanced technology, totally within the realm of our understanding and possibility. Gee, I wonder if it's a foreign agent, you know, or something like that.
And but then I think he sees the eyes glow, and then you're thinking it's a ghost or a specter or something, right? And they're freaking out, and you know, I guess. So do we have spoilers at this point? It's been around so long.
Oh yeah, I mean, we went on the assumption that people already knew that it was an alien when they figure it out. You know, now all bets are off. Now it's not just, you know, technology that might be a few years advanced from us. Now it could be centuries advanced from us. You know, something that's never been seen on this planet. And then, as David brought up, that great line, when they finally figure out that it can be wounded and they find its blood, which doesn't look like human blood.
Yes.
You know, they're like, okay, this is its blood, it's alien blood, and if it bleeds, we can kill it.
And we can kill it, yeah. And part of me almost wondered at the time, I almost wondered if Arnold took away too much from the alien itself, because of course he's the big star. But then I realized they had to sell the movie without spoiling it. Right? So
exactly.
And he is great in this movie. I'm trying to think what else.
Well, and see, this is the interesting thing. They call it Predator. We assume the alien is the predator, right? But the way this poster that you're showing looks, they might be talking about Arnold.
Maybe.
And if you think about it from the point of view of the writing of this story, who is the predator? Yeah, it's kind of the alien, but why is he hunting these humans? Because they are predators too.
It's almost like a sci-fi twist on The Most Dangerous Game.
Exactly right. That's exactly what it is.
And of course, you know, what's the this alien from outer space wants to find the ultimate prey, and of course he's gonna go after guys like Arnold, you know, the top military on the earth, because that's the most dangerous prey. If he can take out one of those, I guess to his culture or his people where he comes from, this would be a big win for him, right? If he could take out one of them. And of course, there were sequels, which I actually liked Predator 2 a lot. Some people didn't, but I thought it was interesting that they switched up the setting to like a futuristic Los Angeles, not that far in the future, but like 5-10 years in the future, Los Angeles, right? Where there's like a gang war going on, and it's very violent. So of course the Predator is out. There's another Predator out there, and he's taking out, you know, these gang members, because I guess they're the most violent predators at that point. And then eventually, you know, I think Danny Glover from the Lethal Weapon series is in it as the lead guy. So is Gary Busey, of all people. But, and Bill Paxton, I forgot, from Aliens.
Oh, yeah.
I kept wondering if the character he played in Predator 2, it would have been funny if he was the ancestor of...
I like that because as it turns out, we find out that, the Predators and the Aliens are in the same, you know, shared universe or whatever.
You find out a lot of stuff, but because there's a point where he actually ends up on one of the Predator ships. And what's interesting is when he kills the Predator, there are other Predators on the ship, and they're like, "Well, no, you won the match," and they give him a trophy, which is an old flintlock pistol.
Well, that was the second movie. That was
the second movie. Yes.
That was what's his name? From Lethal Weapon. What's his name?
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover. Thank you. Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting was that when I saw that pistol, I mean, these guys have been coming on Earth probably in the pirate era, like when pirates were around. And I kept thinking, wouldn't it have been cool if they had done a Predator movie in the past where it you know, like maybe the Predator would still have that camouflage, but it wouldn't be as good as the camouflage we saw in the original Predator. Maybe it would be like if he walked around, it disappeared on him, and it was up. If he stood still, then it came over. Like you would make his technology not as good as it was in the original Predator, because the movie takes place in the past. That might have been interesting. I know they did do Prey, which I have yet to see. Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet either. Yeah, there was okay, so you had Arnold Schwarzenegger, you had Carl Weathers, you had Jesse Ventura, you had, you know, all these action characters. Do you remember, little trivia that most people know the answer to, who was originally cast to play the Predator?
Oh, I'm gonna guess, and I'm probably wrong. Jean-Claude Van Damme?
It was. It absolutely was. Yeah, there's even a famous behind-the-scenes shot of him with Carl Weathers. In fact...
No, that wouldn't have worked.
Well,
I'm not picking on Jean-Claude Van Damme. I actually think he's a better action star than people give him credit for. But there's a lot of story and rumor, and in fact, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen because you might want to bring this picture up. Present. Do you have it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you put it in there.
Screen entire. There we go. Yeah.
Where is it?
And this will, make a great segue, by the way, too. But and it looks like they got some green screen going on here, so I'm not sure what the story is here. But from what I hear, the costuming they had on Jean-Claude and some of the way they were doing the special effects just were not working.
No.
And I've seen it was a very different Predator that he was playing than what they ended up with.
Right.
And again, that has nothing to do with Jean-Claude. It has to do with just how they started out. And honestly, for as athletic and the ability that he had, physically he was too small for what they wanted to go for, and they ended up going with someone who was much, much bigger, much more intimidating.
With the crab face.
Yes, that crab face makes it, because the face, the headpiece that they had on Jean-Claude made him look like a dead horse. I mean, it was just weird looking, you know, not weird in a scary way, weird in a what the hell's going on kind of way, you know.
Oh yeah, Sam.
Yes, thank God Sam Winston came. Yeah, that's exactly it. It was like when they realized things weren't good, they were like, we need to bring in an expert, and Sam Winston was the guy. You know,
I miss '80s action movies. I miss
right?
them because a lot of them did have science fiction twists in them.
Yep.
Often, like Running Man's another favorite of mine
Yep.
with Arnold, and just a lot of great fun back then. If I'll say this, you youngins out there, being a kid in the '80s was. It had its ups and downs, but the pop culture was pretty good, at least as far as movies went.
In fairness to us, though, that's exactly why we are, doing like Big Al and Netters Network are doing the watch parties on Saturdays, and you and I have been doing this series on Last Call, talking about older films, sometimes contemporary films from other countries. There are a lot of options out there that we've seen. Yes, we're old farts. Yes, we're geeky geezers, but we know some things that you might really appreciate, and you could definitely enjoy if you give it a try. So.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, though, because like a lot of those Italian movies I showed, I mean, I wasn't around when those were in theaters, and even when they did come out over here, they were probably censored when they brought them out to the United States. It was a whole new thing for me, and it still is a new thing. And you can uncover genres from the past that you've never tried before. And
True.
It helps though when you have dedicated companies putting them out on Blu-ray and DVD, and when there's kind of a fan community online where you can actually talk to people, because everyone's sort of discovering these things at the same time too. That helps too. So even though they are older movies, there is sort of still a community around them, which is kind of nice. But, but yeah, it's funny. I recently picked up The Postman Always Rings Twice on Blu-ray. I've never seen it. Have you seen it?
I've seen a stage production of it, but yes,
really?
I have. You're talking about
Turner in it.
You're talking about the one with Jessica Lange.
Oh, there was a version with Jessica Lange. I'll have to look for
Jessica
that
Lange and Jack Nicholson. I thought that's the one you were talking about.
No, I have the one with Lana Turner from I guess the 40s. Is this the plot though? The guy gets the job at the hamburger gas station restaurant thing, and then he walks in and there's this beautiful woman who's married to this old like schlubby guy that runs the place, and I'm thinking this is a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
Lana Turner was nice looking though in that movie, but all right.
So was Jessica Lange.
Well, no, remember her in King Kong, the King Kong remake?
Oh, yes, I do.
Nice,
yes, I do, especially the uncut version. Yes. In
fact, it was very funny seeing Jessica Lange and Liam Neeson in Marlowe. More recent movie. It was actually very good. I recommend Marlowe if you like Philip Marlowe stories. This was good. And Liam Neeson's in it. It was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be phoned in. No, it was actually a very good, like, modern. Well, not does take place in modern times, but it was a new hard-boiled detective story with Philip Marlowe.
Yeah.
And she's in it, and I forgot the two of them were in Rob Roy. Remember? Yep.
Yes, they were.
I
That's
remember
true.
that. So interesting. But watch Predator if you've not seen it already. Hope we didn't spoil it for you. But oh wait, what's this horror fact? Did you know the monster from the movie called The Relic used the Predator design as inspiration? That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, not at all. It's iconic now.
I've heard people yell about the adaptation of The Relic into movies, saying that it messed up Dean Koontz's novel. That, like, there was a lot more to the novel than was in the movie. But I remember seeing that movie in the theaters, The Relic, that had I don't know. It had that one woman in it. Penelope Ann Miller, Penelope something like that. Never mind. Let's move on. I'm sounding like a boomer now. So
yes, you are.
I'm feeling like one more every day.
There you go.
Gen Z, they're not being marketed to, though, aren't they? I bet they're skipping over them, just keep marketing to the millennials, though. Anyway, we have some sad news tonight. It's already been mentioned earlier in the chat, but this kind of hit me. I didn't realize. I mean, I was even actually thinking about Carl Weathers recently. You know, like where he's been. I know he's been on The Mandalorian, but this is this came as kind of a shock.
7 hours before the announcement came out, an announcement came out that he was going to be appearing at Dublin Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
I mean, he's again another '80s icon, and I noticed that was something about The Mandalorian. They cast some '80s icon actors on that show. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Jennifer Beals was on another show, probably the Book of Boba Fett. I think she was on that. But all right, so I'll go ahead and read the article and
Yep.
we post it to.
I'm bringing it up. You go ahead and read, and I'll
Start
post.
reading. But yeah, it's on all the news outlets. Carl Weathers, who starred as Apollo Creed in the first 4 Rocky films and appeared in Predator, The Mandalorian, Happy Gilmore, Action Jackson, and Arrested Development, and dozens.
Oh,
of
I'd
other
forgotten about Action Jackson. Yeah,
I was looking for Action Jackson. I don't think it's on DVD, and I don't think it's on streaming. It's
that
like,
one was a big sleeper. A lot of people. I'd forgotten about it, but I did see it back.
I never heard of it because I was thinking about that'd be something to watch in the near future.
Yeah,
but it's not around anywhere. Anyway, he was 76 years old. We are deeply saddened to announce the passing of Carl Weathers. His family said in a statement he died peacefully in his sleep on Thursday, February 1st, 2024. Carl was an exceptional human being who lived an extraordinary life, though his contributions to film, television, the arts, and sports. Through his contributions to film, television, the arts, and sports, he has left an indelible mark and is recognized worldwide and across generations. He was a beloved brother, father, grandfather, partner, and friend. Born on January 14, 1948 in Nolens, Weathers appeared in more than 75 films and TV shows during his 50-year screen career. He, Grief Karga, the head of Bounty Hunters Guild, in 9 episodes of Disney Plus Star Wars series The Mandalorian over its 3 seasons. The character became close to Pedro Pascal's Mando as the series progressed. Weathers was a 2021 Emmy nominee for the role and also directed a pair of episodes in season 2 and 3. Was he the guy that The Mandalorian got jobs from?
He was one of them. I mean, especially second season, he really required his help. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Last month, Lucasfilm confirmed a Mandalorian feature film, The Mandalorian and Grogu, was in the works, with series creator Jon Favreau to direct. It's unclear whether Pascal or any of the other series cast will be involved in the film, which is slated to begin production this year. Weathers showed off his comedy chops in a memorable arc on Arrested Development, playing a version of himself as an ad hoc acting coach who proudly offered tips on saving money at everything from food buffets to airport rides. He appeared in 4 episodes across the Emmy-winning series' first 4 seasons. He also appeared as Police Chief Hampton Forbes in more than 24 episodes of 1989-1995 TV series In the Heat of the Night, starring Carol O'Connor and Howard Rollins. Weathers was a series regular in the 93-94 7th and final season and appeared in post-series telefilms. I remember when he was on that show, actually. Remember?
Yeah.
This is some of the later episodes. Weathers also voiced Combat Carl in the Oscar-winning Toy Story 4. After originating the character for the 2013 TV special Toy Story of Terror. It's like a G.I. Joe knockoff. They did like the More You Know segment. He did one for that. Yeah. You know what the more you know. If you have a cold or you need a sneeze in your shoulder.
Yeah.
Keep it away from people around you. I'm like, that's good advice to give a kid. Actually,
yeah. Well, and that's the kind of advice that your parents always taught you as a kid.
Other credits include his 1988 star turn as Action Jackson, which earned him an NAACP Image Award nom, and came after he starred opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1987's Predator.
Right.
In the latter film, Weathers played Al Dillon, a CIA operative and old Vietnam War buddy of Schwarzenegger's Maj. Alan Dutch Schaefer. They are stalked by a mysterious life form that deploys thermo imaging and cloaking abilities, and it doesn't end well for Dillon. Yeah.
Yep.
But Weathers is best known for playing Apollo Creed, the heavyweight champion of the world who gave journeyman Phil boxer Rocky Balboa Sylvester Stallone a shot at the title in 1976's Rocky. Weathers reprised his role in Rocky II, which featured a title rematch with Balboa in 1982's Rocky III, where he trained Balboa to fight the brutish Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T. Creed's final film in the franchise was Rocky IV, where he was killed in the ring by chiseled Russian heavyweight Ivan Drago, Dolph Lundgren. Yeah. Weathers also had a memorable turn as Derek Chubbs Peterson opposite Adam Sandler and Happy Gilmore, playing the title character's golf coach. Peterson was a pro golfer who was forced to leave the tour after losing his hand to an alligator. His wooden replacement paw was the source of many gags. You couldn't do that today.
Right.
He was badly injured while filming a fall stunt during Happy Gilmore shoot, leading to years of terrible pain. I didn't know it until years later, but I fractured 2 vertebrae and osteophytes grew out and connected.
Wow.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And it did kind of self-use in a really bad place. He told GQ in 2020 interview, there were 3 or 4 years there where I was just in excruciating pain. But rest in peace, Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Sorry to see him go. I don't know. A lot of 80s actors and actresses are just the best at delivering when it comes to their roles. I agree. And Action Jackson was Andrew Davis, The Fugitive, his first film. Fugitive's a good movie too.
Yeah.
We should cover that sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
And knowing is half the battle. Yes, exactly. Deleted scenes. The other half is the actual shooting. Oh, funny.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Not wrong.
he ain't wrong. I mean, it's. Oh my god.
That was a thing when I was a kid when I had a problem with 80s cartoons where you have guys, characters with swords and guns, and I'm like, why isn't nobody dying? It's like.
True, but at the same time, if you were old enough to even question that, you'd be like, well, okay, I know what's actually going on here. They're taking down the violence for kids, but the story is not hurt by it. You can just pretend those grunts died, right?
To be fair, on Batman the Animated Series, there's not a lot of death either because... And the funny thing was, on Batman the Animated Series, one of the censoring things they had on that is no one could use a handgun, but they could use Tommy guns.
Which is really, really weird, right?
Yeah. So
because the difference is it's legal to own a handgun, and in most states it's not legal to own a fully automatic machine gun.
Maybe that's what made them... The whole Batman the Animated Series aesthetic was this weird out of time...
Yeah.
Where it had a lot of
there were elements of the 30s and 40s, but then
40s all over the
modern technology
and
too.
Also modern technology.
It was clearly set in the current day. You had airships, that implied like the late 20s, early 30s.
Exactly.
And
the policemen dressed in the old-fashioned police uniforms from that era, but then you'll have Robin playing a video game on the Bat computer,
And honestly, there is nothing wrong with that. I mean, we have talked about that. You get the same kind of aesthetic from, like, even the Christopher Reeve Superman movie, where he's, dressed wearing a fedora. Even in the 70s, fedoras they were pretty much out, And so to see him wearing that, is like, a little anachronistic, but in a good way. And now, we're doing that watch party every Tuesday on Deleted Scenes, 7:30 Central and 8:30 Eastern, live from Sparkwood and 21. And Twin Peaks was very much like that, where there's a lot of 40s and 50s aesthetics there, but they clearly have modern technology. So it's, it's that same kind of thing. And even people in the chat who hadn't seen it before, when does this take place? Well, it takes place the same year that it was being shown, which was, 91, 90...
Early 90s, yeah.
Early 90s.
Yeah, like 92, I think. Yeah, 92, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, but yeah, you're supposed to get... And how do they get away with it? Well, it takes place in a, kind of rural town, very small town in the... Northwest, where, maybe a lot of the technology or the way of the world hasn't quite caught up with them yet. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And let's face it, I'd love to see them reboot like Superman, Batman, or whatever, and go with an aesthetic like that. Yes, it's modern day, but yes, also there are these retro type aesthetics that are maybe a little anachronistic, but so what?
Oh, thank you so much for bringing this up, Jesse Guajardo. What about Batman Must Have Azim? We had a kill count. You had guys using handguns in it because they didn't have to worry about TV censors or network censors.
Right.
That was a made for... Actually, that was even at theatrical release. So they were able to do more things. They even had some of the mob guys have Italian last names, which they didn't do on Batman the Animated Series. They didn't, even though they were clearly supposed to be based on like American Italian mob.
Yeah,
guys.
as far as
they didn't have them have Italian names.
As far as the movies go, I don't think it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the Christian Bale Batman that we got like Boss Maroni and stuff,
Yes.
which was in the comics from years back. I mean, this is you know, again, source material, folks. And if
Yeah.
if Italian Americans have a problem with it, then they need to just toughen up a little bit. All right,
Well,
get
probably
over
because
it.
it was seen as a kids show too, and we don't want to be. I don't remember why, but they had Rupert Thorne was the mob boss, even though I think in the comics Rupert Thorne was a political boss and not a mob boss, right?
Yeah.
So they had him be a mob
Well,
show.
I'm not sure that there's a significant difference there, but okay.
Yeah. But I want to bring up what Big Al said a minute ago that he's hoping to get together with Birdman to do a rewatch of Action Jackson.
Oh,
so
cool.
Definitely let us know about that. Yeah, who knows? That would be a cool rewatch. I just don't know where it's available. Maybe you can rent it. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure it's out there on the high seas if you can't find it anywhere else.
Welcome, Zootopia. All right.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do a new release of it now. Oh, it's on Tubi.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Carl Weathers. I wonder if he did any voice acting. I didn't even think to look at that.
He had a great voice for it. He probably should have done. Let me take a look. Let's look at his IMDb real quick.
See if he did any DC cartoons, because it seems like DC got every actor in the world to do. Carl Weathers, DC animated. Was he ever on a DC animated series? Let me see. Now I'm looking. Oh, wait a minute.
What?
Oh, no, maybe not. Hold on. Let me look. Was he Lucius Fox? Let me
Oh,
see.
he might have been.
Let me see. I could be wrong there. I just saw his picture show up next to that might have been a fan casting for Lucius Fox.
Happy Gilmore.
Maybe he didn't. Carl Weathers, DC animated. He's in here. Who did he play? He voiced. Oh no. Okay. No. He voiced. He was in one of the animated features released in the video. Superman Unbound. He voiced Ron Trupe. Do you know who that is in the comics?
No.
Am I saying the name right? Troupe. Okay. Well, he was in Superman Unbound. That was based on the Superman Brainiac comic that came out a few years back.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. But that was it. We'll get into Brainiac later tonight. I'm not happy.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of voice acting, but you know what? That's a missed opportunity because he definitely had a great voice. He was in 8 Crazy Nights. It was a voice acting role where he played the GNC guy.
Yes, GNC.
Balto 3, Wings of Change, he was the voice of Kirby.
Yes. Kirby.
Oh, so he actually has appeared in a number of video games, is what it is. Okay. Mercenaries Playground of Destruction, he plays Colonel Samuel Garrett. So, really? When you're talking about voice roles, you don't know if the characters look like them. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Toy Story of Terror, he played Combat Carl.
Yes, I mentioned that earlier. That's right.
Yeah.
I have to address this with Jesse Gerhardt, and then we're going to move on to the next story.
Mm-hmm.
There's even the Batman Return of the Joker, where they show 2 alternative versions of the Joker's death. Now, remember how I told you that they were able to let loose on Batman Mask of the Phantasm?
Right.
But when Batman Return of the Joker came out, that was the Batman Beyond made-for-video movie. For some reason, I always blame John McCain for that.
Okay.
This was before the war on terror started, when they were looking for things to complain about, and I think it made its way into AOL. I think it's when AOL bought Time Warner, and then AOL was sticking their noses where it didn't belong, and they were saying, "Oh, you shouldn't just have this scene where the Joker's death is this explicit or something. You have to change up," and they actually censored it and had to reanimate a scene. Now it's available in its original uncut form as it's supposed to be. But back in the day, no, there was a censored version. I was so angry I didn't buy it when it came out on videotape. I did rent it just to watch it, but I wasn't going to own it until they released the uncensored version, which they did a few years later. But yeah. I was angry about that at the time. I was furious. You're bringing me back to the late '90s. That's when everything went to pot. It was the late '90s. I'm sorry. I'm thinking the death of Phil Hartman. Nothing's been the same since he died.
No.
Disney loses top spot on media and entertainment on Fortune's. Let me go to the next picture. Okay. Disney's loses top spot in media and entertainment on Fortune's most admired companies list 2024. All right. So For 2024, Disney ranked number 12 overall among companies from across the globe, a fall of 6 places from the 2023 World's Most Admired Companies list. The top 3 positions are dominated by tech companies, with Apple at number 1, Microsoft number 2, and Amazon number 3. Notably, Disney lost its number 1 position as the most admired entertainment company to Netflix and fell to number 4 in the media and entertainment sector. Electronic Arts is at number 2. And Comcast is at number 3. Disney held number 1 position for 20 consecutive years before 2024. Are you kidding me? Electronic Arts outranks Disney now? Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, people, this is the thing. If you just do a surface read of the mainstream media, you would have no idea the reality of what's going on here. When we bring you this stuff, we bring you the receipts. It is worse than most people realize. Oh, Disney's going to be fine. They're going to be fine. They are not fine.
If they don't turn the ship around, they're going to turn into what we call.
And there is no such thing as too big to fail.
I don't understand this though. EA. I mean, I don't like Disney, but heck, the Haunting in Venice, Hercule Poirot movie that came out through their Fox division, that was last year. That was pretty good, actually. Mm-hmm. So not everything they do is awful. Even I'll admit that. EA, I don't know what EA has done recently that's been. Are they? Never mind.
Keep in mind, this is Fortune's most admired companies. So that doesn't necessarily mean the most profitable. That doesn't necessarily mean the best. It means having market belief in their ability. A faith that they're going to be successful. A lot of people are saying, yeah, no, they are not a good choice.
Yeah, but this
and
is
you can kind of
Fortune's
see
annual
that
list.
just based on their stock prices. That's a big part of it,
Yeah, but a company score must rank in the top half of its industry survey to be listed. So I mean, they're still up there, but they're slipping. That's a big slip, I think.
Yeah, they're what, number 12 now?
Yeah,
they've dropped out of the top 10. That's bad.
People forget that there was a time when Disney was kind of on the rocks back in the 80s.
Sure.
But of course, I would argue that Disney had other things going for it in the 80s than just maybe their animated movies weren't doing so well, but some of the live action movies.
But keep in mind that just like now, back then, there were people that just loved the Disney brand, loved to take their kids to the parks, would take them to see any movie that Disney put out, and trusted that Disney was a good bet, right? And when they go see these movies, or they do something in the parks, or there'd be something on TV and be like, that's kind of cheesy, that's really cheap. Come on, Disney, we expect more from you. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, what kind of stuff are you exposing my kids to? Where you've got parents, when parents are calling cinemas and saying, is it safe for me to bring my kid to see this movie, or is it a big propagandist piece of crap? That's the big deal. And I'm hearing a lot of analysts, I'm sure you guys have too, people, in our sphere, who are saying this may be a generational thing. Why did I ever go to Disney World? Because my grandmother had saved up money for years to take our family to Disney. That was what she one thing she wanted to do before, she died. And I was pretty young at the time. I mean, guys, one of the rides I was on was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Do a little research. It hasn't been at Disney for decades.
I remember that ride, though. We used to go underneath in the water. That was super cool, actually. You know what I don't understand? I get if Disney wants to revamp, not use the old ride, but then make it a really make an expensive version of it, where you're in the Nautilus and stuff.
Yeah, and you don't even have to make it into a water thing. At this point, a lot of the and Universal is taking a lot of advantage of this. They were doing this, 30 years ago when I went there. You go and so the shtick was you get into a small version of the Nautilus, and you saw the Nautilus riding in a track outside in the water. You know, so it was literally a water ride. So you saw it from the outside and you got into the thing. You don't have to have the two be the same thing. You could have what looks like the ship you're going to get into seen from the outside, but when you actually get in, you're going into like a theater or you know, an immersion type thing. And you could have 25 of them, and there's only one that's going around in the water outside, and people think that's what they're going to be getting into. No, it's not. Once you get inside, it's just a virtual reality type of thing.
It's not the same.
It can be better. It can actually be better. That's what Imagineers are for, to make you think. You know, I mean, like the optical illusions in the haunted house, right? Or the haunted mansion, right? Where the walls grow and, you know, the statues sing and the ghosts are dancing around, and, you know, there's a lot of behind the scenes that tell you.
Kid, 4 years old, looking over and seeing the dancing ghosts, and I was like, that's what we call Disney magic,
dude. Right, sitting in the car, you know, riding along, you turn, you look, you see the glass, you see a reflection of yourself, and there's a ghost sitting next to you.
Yes.
And you turn and look, and the ghost ain't there, but he's there in the mirror.
Yep.
Now, I know how that trick is done, and it would still scare the crap out of me. That's awesome stuff. There's nothing like that. Look at Tiana's Bayou Adventure. That is the biggest eyesore. Yeah.
And here's the problem: the actual artwork. Like, if they were to make a ride based on Princess and the Frog, you could do a lot with that because it was still a good Disney animated movie. The trouble is that's not what they're doing with the ride. They were using some kind of modern artwork instead of the 1920s aesthetic.
Right. And Jesse makes a great point. Japan still, I don't know exactly what he's referring to.
Japan has a lot of stuff.
They have a lot of stuff that Disney used to have and now is problematic. But Japan says, screw you. People like it, we're keeping it.
I swear, there are days I feel like Japan gets the best stuff, Europe gets the next best stuff, and we get the scraps sometimes. It's like that with games, at least. Like, you'll be on Club Nintendo in Japan, you get this fancy stuff, Europe gets fancy stuff, and we get nothing. It's like, or we don't, or you'll get these these cool pre-order bonuses with games that we don't get over here, and it's like, it's like, I don't know what happened. It's like North America is the redheaded stepchild. I can say that since I'm a redhead. But Universal old tagline, come live the movies. Did you know that Japan, there's an Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland in California, and Japan had its own version of the Indiana Jones ride. But it had a different location because I think they didn't want to do, I think in the California ride, it was somewhere in like East Asia. But since Japan didn't want to have that, since it's not really as exotic for them because they're in Asia,
sure.
So
yeah, I guess
they went with the South American theme instead, which I thought was interesting.
Okay, sure, that makes sense.
But Disney used to be all about wonderment. Now I just wonder if they're going to blame their fans for this week.
Of course,
I was watching a Your Boy Zach video earlier today, and he's saying that at DC Comics that some of the people that used to be very vocal about the SJW, obviously not all of them because you still have people running their mouth, but some of them are now shut up. Like, he thinks Kelly Sue DeConnick is now shut up.
I should hope she would have. You know, you've seen my video where she's, you know, if you don't buy my book, you know, and then 2 years later, we're all very concerned because, you know, the comic industry is dying. No shit, Sherlock. I wonder why. Maybe because we didn't buy your book, you dumbass.
Yeah. Universal's old tagline, come live the movies. Well, we're going to get to Universal later tonight. They have some interesting things in store. By the way, did you like my picture here of the old Mickey Mouse? Apparently that was rescued from a dumpster in England, I think, somewhere. That's original Mickey Mouse. But it looks in bad shape, doesn't it? That's one of the original Mickey Mouse dolls.
It looks in bad shape, and it still looks like it's in better shape than Disney is now.
Did you know I was watching a documentary? I think it was the biography on on A&E when they did biography, and they did Walt Disney, I think, for 2 or 3 nights because that's how big his biography was.
Yeah.
And they said that early on when he created the Mickey Mouse characters, someone came up to him and from a company said that we'd like to put Mickey Mouse on the T-shirt, and he said, "Oh, well, how much more do I have to pay you for that?" And then I think maybe his brother or something said, "No, he pays you."
Yeah,
to put Mickey Mouse on the T-shirt to sell. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's go to the Aristocats. Oh,
yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to have some things to say about this one.
Were you referring to Age of Boomers? Referring to Epcot? I'm not sure. I went to Epcot when I was young. That was an amazing experience back when they were treating it like it was supposed to be, which was an ongoing World's Fair.
Yeah.
We have truly lost our minds. Viewer reacts to trigger warning before Disney's Aristocats.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I have this on DVD because I actually have, I think, almost all of the old Disney movies on DVD or Blu-ray, and I've never watched it though.
Oh, it's I went to the theater to see it.
This is a very 70s era Disney movie.
Yeah.
This is so let's go to Campus Reform, has been covering the growing popularity of trigger warnings or content warnings in the academic world for years, but the practice has begun to make its way outside of such circles, often to the confusion of people simply attempting to navigate social media or consume media. Commentator James Esses expressed such confusion in an X post on Monday after being presented with such a warning by Disney before he could view the 1970 musical comedy cartoon The Aristocats. The trigger warning shown to people on Disney Plus before they watch The Aristocats. It seems we have truly lost our minds, Esses posted along the image of the warning. This program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people or cultures, read the warning. These stereotypes are wrong then and are wrong now. Rather than remove this content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, and spark conversation to create a more inclusive future together. It goes on to assure that Disney is committed to creating stories with inspirational, aspirational themes that reflect the rich diversity of the human experience across the globe.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah. I would recommend, if you haven't checked it out, I'm dropping it right now. Paul Chatto did a video about this. He titles the video Disney Hates Its Past, but it is about exactly this, these trigger warnings. And you know how his shtick, it's comedy, you know, in by way of satire. Yeah, and he does a bunch of you know, examples of other trigger warnings that they could do, and he does one for like Buzz Lightyear that's like, yeah, we know you think that this is the Buzz Lightyear from the Toy Stories. It's not. This is something completely different. And he does a couple other ones, and then he gets to the Marvels, and the trigger warning is just don't.
Just don't. Yeah. Facepalm, Jesse Garhardo, and it's just the Siamese cats, isn't it? I don't know if those are in the Aristocats. I haven't seen it. I know there were the Siamese cats in Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, that was Lady and the Tramp.
It would have been funny if they showed up in the Aristocats also.
in the Aristocats, you have a cats going to a jazz club, and the characters are all cats, but they are portrayed in very stereotypical racial ways that you would expect in a 1940s, 1930s
like
type.
The Crows and Dumbo, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, but I don't think it's what I would consider to be a negative stereotype. You know, it's the kind of place. Yeah. Having grown up in Chicago, going to jazz and blues clubs, you know.
I always found the Crows and Dumbo to be likable characters. I'll say that when I saw.
That's the other thing. You know, look, you see it, or certain people see it as a racial stereotype, and yes, it is, but it's more of a socioeconomic stereotype from certain regions of the country.
I think also it was showing that the Crows were also outcasts of themselves, and Dumbo is also an outcast. I thought it was trying to do, I don't know.
Oh, Jesse, I would love for them to do trigger warnings on Blazing Saddles because the material would just write itself. You would just no kidding. You find this offensive? Guess what? That was the point, you dumbass.
This is why you want to own physical media, so when you plop Aristocats into your DVD player, nothing pops up. I assume. Maybe it does pop up. I noticed on a lot of the old those Walt Disney Treasures release, you'd had Leonard Maltin saying, yeah, these are some caricatures of Japanese soldiers in this thing during World War II. But this was common back in those days to portray your enemy in what was it, a cartoonish light. That's what
actually
playing the thing.
That kind of that's not even really a trigger warning. That kind of context, I don't necessarily have a problem with, because honestly, it doesn't make a lot of sense if you don't know the history behind it.
Yes.
And you're going, well, that seems kind of rude. Well, yeah, but they were the bad guys. Whether it was the Russians, the Japanese, the Germans whatever.
The Germans got hit in that Donald Duck in something land.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
A wonderful cartoon. It is, in fact, that song in the cartoon became a best-selling record, I think, too. In DeFure's face, remember?
Right, exactly.
But yeah, this is just ridiculous. Disney, take a chill pill for once.
And honestly, for all the moaning and complaining they do about the negative depictions of people during, wars and whatnot, they're doing it with the political figures they don't like. So they can go chase themselves.
Yeah. And let's point out that
the
other side did the same thing to us in their cartoons.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? Get over it. That's life. It's like I was telling you on an unrelated thing. Human nature, you're never going to change it. You better learn to live with it.
Yeah. At least with the DVD, they can't alter it further without making an entirely new copy that isn't the one you have. I'll say this, though. Disney has been notorious about censoring their own content for years. I think they took, out of the Pecos Bill short, they took the cigar out of it. This was back, I guess, in the early 2000s.
That's why I love the internet. Anything they take out, you can find it somewhere.
I didn't get it on DVD because of that. I was angry.
I'll tell you something else about DVD. If you don't like the trigger warning screen or something like that, you can just make a copy and edit it out yourself. I do that kind of stuff all the time because Disney DVDs, I don't know about Blu-rays, but the DVDs are notorious for forcing you to watch their coming attractions or whatever. And I will make a copy of that disc to take those out so I can skip them.
Always the worst companies put that stuff and force you to watch them. Funimation, I think, is the absolute worst one. There is no way. You can't even manually fast forward them on a Funimation disc.
It's the same way on Disney. But you can manually edit them out of the disc if you make a copy of it.
All right. So,
and they're not going to tell me I can't because it's my copy, my physical copy that I own, and they can't take away from me.
So here we go. And let's go to our final Disney story.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
You like the judge I picked? You recognize him?
Oh, yeah.
Ghostbusters 2. Favorite scene in the movie? What's the trial? Lewis says, yeah, but I turned into a dog once and they helped me. That was his defense. Great, Lewis. Pointless. but you know.
Doing a little editing there, trying to get it to fit. There we go.
The hill. Okay, well, thank you. A federal judge on Wednesday tossed Disney's lawsuit against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Hold on, I skipped ahead by accident.
Gee, who could have seen this coming?
You said they were going to toss it out back in the day. I remember that. It says not going to happen.
Imagine that.
You're not.
But I'll be honest with you. I honestly thought it would be tossed on standing. I really thought they were going to say Disney doesn't have a standing claim here, but it could get worse for Disney. It really could, because it wasn't thrown out on standing. Now they could have implicated themselves in responsibility for some very serious, potentially billion-dollar, crimes here.
Yeah. So they accused Ron DeSantis and other officials of unconstitutionally retaliating against the company for political reasons. Again, look, I'm not even saying I agree with everything DeSantis has done as governor, but I'll say in this instance, I thought Disney way overstepped, and I think he was genuinely trying to do something, at least in the beginning, to protect the kids. I mean, this was in grade school. He didn't want this stuff being discussed. It's like
it's less about DeSantis and more about the parents. I mean, this is democracy at work, folks. These are the parents saying, yeah, no, we don't want this in our schools.
Many people thought this whole thing was about the people out in California not wanting to relocate to Florida, because I guess Chapek wanted them to relocate to Florida to save money,
Yeah.
and so that's when they started this whole thing and about, oh, they're a horrible state that hates people, of a certain orientation, and then it became this whole thing. U.S. District Judge Alan Windsor, an appointee of former President Trump, ruled Disney lacked legal standing to sue DeSantis.
Oh, okay. I guess it was standing, so I was right. Okay.
Okay. Lack legal standing. The ruling hands a major win to DeSantis in his escalating legal fight with the entertainment conglomerate, which has a major presence in the state through its flagship Disney, then CEO Bob Chapek. Okay, yeah, it says Disney's then CEO Bob Chapek criticized the legislation after the Florida legislature passed it, calling it a challenge to basic human rights and vowing to work to repeal the law and support advocacy groups fighting against similar bills in other states. Yeah, that was a huge mishap on his part.
Mm-hmm.
And they think they did. Remember, we discussed that. We think he did that because of Susan Arnold. Susan Arnold told him to do that.
Yeah,
that was the rumor, at least. I don't know if we know for certain, but in the aftermath of Disney's criticism, Florida legislature's moved to revoke a special status that the company has had, giving it some self-governing power for the 2,500 acre district surrounding its theme parks. DeSantis signed that legislation dissolving the district, known as the Reedy Creek Improvement District, last February, creating a new board. Disney then sued DeSantis, Florida's Commerce Secretary, and the members of the new board, accusing them of politically retaliating against the company in violation of Disney's free speech rights. This is just pure arrogance on the part of Disney.
What's funny is that since it was thrown out because of standing, which, like I said, I'd predicted, but I didn't think it would actually happen. They're actually patting Disney on the head and saying, we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt that there was a little mistake made and you haven't been ripping off the state of Florida for billions of dollars for decades, that this isn't fraud that we're going to be able to go after you for.
You know what's so dumb? I remember DeSantis saying that, like, I think he'd be willing to talk to whoever was running Disney. Now, after Chapek got kicked out, he might have been willing to talk to Iger.
Yeah.
But then they still played these shenanigans.
Yep.
So they Disney has not alleged any specific actions the new board took or will take because of the governor's alleged control, Windsor wrote in a 70-page ruling. In fact, Disney has not alleged any specific injury from any board action. Continued, its alleged injury, as discussed above, is it's operating under a board it cannot control. The injury would exist whether or not the governor controlled the board, meaning an injunction precluding the governor from influencing the board would not redress Disney's asserted injury. Windsor dismissed Disney's claims against Florida's Secretary of Commerce on similar grounds. Only the company's claims against the members of the new board could reach the merits, Windsor ruled, and those fail anyway, the judge said, ruling the First Amendment circuit precedent forecloses Disney lawsuit. At the end of the day, under the law of the circuit, courts shouldn't look into a law's legislative history to find an illegitimate motivation for an otherwise constitutional statute. Because that is what Disney seeks here, its claim fails as a matter of law. Don't they have lawyers working for their company over at Disney?
Oh yeah, but I'm getting the impression they're not the best lawyers. They're working outside of their area of law and even possibly outside of their state knowledge. Look, sometimes these state laws are different between, say, California and Florida. If you're a California lawyer and you're working in Florida, you might want to learn the law in Florida.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know?
I feel like the great quote from Richard Roma from Glenn Ross, don't open your mouth until you know what the shot is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up. We'll be watching that very soon on Last Call.
Oh, I have so much to say about Glenn Ross. I don't know. I got to keep. During the Alec Baldwin scene, I think you and I have my own take on it, and you might have your own take on it. I interpret it differently. Oh,
interesting. Man, I'm looking forward to it because you may give me a different perspective.
We may agree. You never know.
Yeah.
It's a movie about horrible men. Look forward to it, okay?
Yeah, horrible men that I have encountered in my lifetime. So, you know. I mean, talk about lived experience, you know. I was the guy being told to put his coffee down. I just handled it very differently.
Here's the main thing in that movie. What are the salesmen selling in that movie? Have you figured it out yet? And don't say it's land.
Damn,
Well,
now that you say it, I don't even remember.
It sounds like they're selling land, but I don't think that's what they're selling. We'll
have to pay attention as we watch it because
on Friday.
Because here's the thing: it's not important. That is not the important point. You know,
you're right. You're right.
It could be anything. It could be the steak knives that they're winning if they sell enough, right?
It'd be those snake knives that don't cut. That's the kind of knives they'd be, and they would break on you after cutting.
Yes,
anyway,
exactly.
Troy, the sad part about Disney Disney coming attractions is that a lot of them weren't completed, and those ads could just be considered as lost media. Oh, okay. I don't know. In Southeast Asia, negative depictions of the Japanese in the old days. Okay, this is still molesting. A lot of countries had a direct experience because of their occupation of the region. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And, all right. At least.
Oh yeah. No, I was saying I talked about that. There's a scene in Midway of some of what the Japanese do in China, and it was like, I can understand. I can understand. Well, I don't think they go into it as much in the movie as I did in my discussion of the history. Yeah, see, that's the impression I got too, David, that it was some sort of a real estate, sale.
My dad was a child during World War II. He remember when the war was going on, but he was like 5 or 6. But he was there then, so of course he had his own views on certain countries in the 90s, and telling him, "Hey, Dad, Mario has a new friend. His name is Yoshi." Well, that makes sense. They were allies during the war.
Oh my gosh, that is funny. That's true.
Oh, it's true, but just come on. Anyway,
I have a buddy who he's Polish, and he married a woman who was half German, half Italian. He's like, it's World War II all over again. I've been invaded.
Funny. It's actually, if you ever watch the show Mad Men, there's a great scene on there where they're trying to make a deal with a Japanese car company, and of course, one in the office, the older one, Cosgrove, flips his shit because of course he was in the Pacific, and what's funny was someone made a comment that they have one in every building, one of these older men that'll snap if you do dealings with the Japanese.
Right.
Of course, that prejudice is all going on because of the war, but yeah. All right, time to move on to D&D.
Okay, yeah, this one I'm going to have a little bit of fun with. Let me get the first article up real quick.
That is Dungeons & Dragons Order of the Griffin for the TurboGrafx 16.
I have seen videos about those SSL games. Yes. I didn't actually play them. Well, I take that back. I may have played one or two. They all use the same engine, right?
I think so. This was an exclusive one for the TurboGrafx 16. Never came out on anything else. Mm-hmm. Look at that artwork, huh?
That is some great artwork. I would not be surprised if that wasn't used on the cover of a module or something like that.
Or in Dragon Magazine or something. I'm sure it wasn't used on this cover, but when you're TSR, you have the rights to some of this great artwork to throw around. But probably the best TurboGrafx artwork I've ever seen. But anyway.
So, you know what? We should probably I don't think this is a big spoiler. A good media outlet, if they release some news and it turns out to be wrong, they do a retraction, and they don't do it like, we were wrong. Sorry, bye. They say, we said this, it was wrong, we've got new evidence, blah. Well, we're going to do the same thing in in the same news article. So let's go ahead.
Hasbro may be looking to offload Dungeons & Dragons, D&D. Oh, that's funny, parentheses, it's D&D and then D with an ampersand.
Yes.
Intellectual property onto a wealthy buyer. In this case, it sounds like it may be Tencent, according to multiple sources, due to financial
sources. We'll talk more about that in a second.
Due to financial difficulties, the Dungeons & Dragons intellectual property could be up to sale either now or in the near future. Larian Studios, the creators of the massively successful RPG Baldur's Gate 3, reportedly don't have the financial resources to make the deal themselves. However, Larian allegedly helped bring the Hasbro and Tencent together for a possible deal. Tencent is a minority stake in Larian. It's unclear just how much of the IP is up for sale. It could just be the video game rights, or it could be the entire D&D identity. Just a month ago, we learned Hasbro was laying off over 1,000 employees.
That is true.
The company's difficulties. So go to the next article. We'll do the next one too.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got to paste it in 2 parts because,
it's Bounty in the comics, or is it
something jeez. No, this one I think is it Forbes?
Forbes. Oh no, not Forbes.
Why do they have to put the whole title into the URL?
You know what I find fascinating? Now the mainstream media is now parroting things we've been saying for years. Like, I think Eric Kane over at Forbes was basically saying that.
Yeah.
He didn't like the latest season of True Detective because of the way it wrote the woman. It wrote the woman as so unlikable. And I keep thinking, well, that's what we've been saying about some of these characters like Reva, but then we could call it all sorts of things for saying that.
Yeah, I mean, it has nothing to
attacking the character.
It has nothing to do with race, color, gender, any of that stuff. It has to do with simple, basic writing.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you look at Peter Cushing in Star Wars. He was a bastard, but man, was he cool. Darth Vader, terrible, evil villain, but man, was he cool. Villains are supposed to be cool. You gotta still hate them, but you hate them in the good way. The kind of way where you want an action figure of that character. You know?
Yes.
You want to dress up like them for Halloween.
Is that a soda pop can you popped there?
Yeah, zero sugar grapefruit soda. But that's all the more true with hero characters. You want to like the hero character too. We don't like the hero characters. We don't like the villain characters. We don't like the supporting characters.
Look at just the way the Rebel ships and the Empire ships were designed in the original Star Wars movies. You love them both. They both have great designs. Yes,
in different ways. The Imperial ships were like the old guard, you know, big budgets. The Empire, right? And the Rebels were the little scrappy whatever they could pull together. You know, exactly.
But they both had great designs. Anyway,
and the visuals tell a story too. You know, that's important. They don't know how to do that. All they know is walking along and giving exposition, because we don't know how to tell visual stories.
To be fair, that started with a certain other Star Wars era. But anyway, I'm not going to get off on that tangent. Let's go to Wizards of the Coast, the Hasbro division behind tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons, is denying rumors sparked by a Chinese news report that is struggling Oh, should I have gone into this just yet?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hasbro could be selling the Dungeons & Dragons video game home to Tencent. Multiple gaming outlets on Wednesday highlighted a report from Chinese news site Speed Daily, translated on Pan Daily.
Stop right there. Speed Daily. That was one source that a bunch of other sources picked up and ran with.
Because no one does their due diligence.
Because no one does their due diligence. Right?
Unnamed sources claiming Hasbro's financial problems were driving the company to consider selling their brand. So unnamed sources, which means people that are not giving out their names of who they work for, said this was going to get sold, and it's reported on one website, and then the entire internet goes nuts.
Now, in fairness, you know, go back to the last article, and we're talking about all the layoffs and stuff like that, and all the things that you've heard me saying about Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, you know, over the past year and a half, you know. And then you hear about all these layoffs and how they're gutting all these areas of Hasbro. It's like, okay, I could totally see it getting sold off. That kind of makes sense. Okay, but you still need to confirm that. Just because it sounds plausible doesn't mean it am.
Yeah, and so it's they were ready to believe the worst, right? It was easy.
Yeah, exactly. But, and that's how they get you clicking on the clicks. That's how this business works. So, you know, just don't trust anything you read. Look, you know, even when we were talking about Carl Weathers at the top of the show, you know, when I heard he died, the first thing I did was I went out and checked, and the only thing I was seeing was 7 hours earlier that he was going to be appearing at Dublin Comic Con. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. And then literally 5 minutes later, 3 other sources came up, and I'm like, damn it. Oh, damn.
Not happy about that. But yeah, usually you will get confirmation. But
So many though. When you're on social media and you see someone died, hold off. Don't forward it. Double check, because I just as many forwards of so and so died, and then the person comes out on Twitter or Instagram. The rumors of my death, folks. I'm still alive and kicking.
Yeah. The rumor prompted responses to surprise and concern from fans. This is madness to me. Zoe Skaman, founder of brand strategy studio Bodacious.
Okay.
Okay. Dungeons and Dragons is one of the most fascinating, deep, and powerful IPs out there. It's just dreadful. It's just been dreadfully explored with so much potential remaining within it. Sounds like he should be working for Hasbro. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it is not happening, so we have to. We're giving our own retraction within the stream. Is that right? That's what we're doing.
Yes, and we could have just dropped the whole thing, but I did want to make a commentary on this running with an article, when it's not true. So,
do you think Tencent would be worse than? Do you think Tencent would be worse than Hasbro?
I don't know anything about Tencent.
Neither do I.
So I can't speak to that. I would, if this was actually happening, I would do some research into them and find out a little bit more about them, so I could have an informed opinion, and grouse about it with the rest of the gaming and toy community. But I guess that's not necessary right now, is it?
No.
But
Mario needs a friend with a German name, and Nintendo will have access to rights. I don't know if we've ever had any German Nintendo characters. I always assumed Dr. Wily from Mega Man had a German accent. I think there have been certain interpretations that have that that German style accent. But speaking of video games, yay!
Oh, jeez, this one so annoyed by this, and we got a couple articles, so we should probably go through them quick.
I'm going to go through them quick. But this is important because, for starters, I need to ask David Zaslav, who's minding the store over there at Warner Brothers. And I know that maybe you don't care about video games, but for many people, that's how they encounter these superheroes.
In fairness, when you license, it does get a little loosey-goosey.
No. This is published by Warner Brothers Games. This is in-house, I believe. I don't think...
I understand it's in-house, okay. but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually paying attention. They go, okay, well, this isn't the movies.
This is their company.
Do it. I know.
They own this game studio. It's not like they licensed it out to EA and EA made this. This was made, I believe, in-house. And here, a lot of people are upset about this because apparently this takes place in the Arkham universe, and there were a lot of, I guess, members of Gen Z where the Batman from the Arkham universe was their Batman. You know, however they introduced the Batman in their own way, well, that was their Batman, was the one from those Arkham Asylum games, because they had, at that point you have voice acting and more storytelling in games because the technology had caught up. So the fact that they are kind of messing with this is just, who's really surprised that it's woke? I don't... You know what the thing is? You could do a really cool video game based around the Suicide Squad.
Yes, you could.
Have them going on some covert ops mission, but not have it be where they, I don't know.
What they literally did was they made this into you get to play the villain, is what they made it. Yeah. And this takes it beyond the Suicide Squad being the anti-heroes, which I always had a problem with to begin with. I don't think they understood anti-heroes. They didn't understand these characters well enough to do a subtle enough treatment of these characters. They really don't. These people that are writing this stuff are sociopaths themselves. Yes. They don't understand heroism. They don't understand these characters. And they're just nihilists. And they think everybody is a nihilist.
Yeah, they think this is what the kids
Unfortunately,
want.
In the age of the release the Snyder Cut bros, there's way too many of them out there.
But again, I don't think there are as many as we think.
As the media would imply that there are. Yeah, exactly.
I think there was some creative stuff going online when that was happening. But due to yesterday's bug, all the cutscenes from Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League have leaked online, so major spoilers follow. But apparently the game is woke AF. You know what that means. Okay. Yes. Rocksteady has since announced the bug has been repaired and that the game is available to play online as part of early access. The full launch becomes available on February 2nd. That means it's out already, so never mind. I haven't played much of the game myself. And after learning the following info, I don't plan on playing or purchasing it, as the game shits on the characters and the fans. So what happens is that, yeah, the Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. We all expected that. But it's how they go about and do it. You know, I wasn't expecting that. I know. Maybe I should have with that title, but I kept thinking, okay, the joke is they're sent on a mission to stop because Brainiac has taken over the members of the Justice League, and the Suicide Squad are the only ones left to save the world. But I didn't expect them to actually kill the members of the Justice League, or maybe they could have had it where it was clones. They were fighting clones of Superman and Wonder Woman that were made by Brainiac or something, and the originals come out okay at the end. I just was not expecting them to go here. So what's happened is that the Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. How is this for a kick in the balls? Only Wonder Woman has a good death. The rest of the Justice League are made to look like a complete joke, especially Batman, in which is the last time Kevin Conroy voices the character. Update has learned Conroy has 2 more voice performances. I'm sure they dug up 2 lost voice performances, so this isn't his last, because this is awful. Isn't the game also set within the Arkham universe? Wow. Again, some of the fans will reply and cry that the game is titled Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League. But how come Wonder Woman isn't made to look like complete shit?
In fact, my understanding is that there's a whole bit with Lex Luthor where he praises her and her Amazons for finding a way to do away with toxic masculinity. I'm like, okay, you don't understand Lex Luthor. You don't understand his motivation. He would never be the one to deliver those lines. And but you found a way to screw up that one too.
It's just awful. Let's see if I go down here. Okay. So they also made a point that the company that helped with this was Sweet Baby Consultation Studio. I don't know if I've gone over them on this stream before, but they let's just say they're consultants you hire to make sure your game is in compliance.
That's
with
exactly right.
Modern.
They're an ESG consulting group, is what they are.
Yeah. According to the website, their mission is to tell better, more empathetic stories while diversifying and enriching the video game industry. Need I say more? Okay. We love making games no matter the size and scope, and we're always excited to help you tell the story, the best story possible. All right.
And that's the other, you know what? I don't think these articles cover exactly what Matt Inouye brought up, too. From what I'm hearing from gamers, the game was buggy and almost unplayable anyway. So apparently, even if the story was good, the game itself sucks from a gamer's point of view.
Well, the mechanics I hear have some issues, and also I think it's one of these. I don't know if you have to play it online to play it. I don't even know if there's an offline mode. I don't know if I heard about that. But let me go into what else this says. Let's go into the deaths. Green Lantern shot in the head by Deadshot, black on black, and shown in his underwear. Now, of course, this is odd because Deadshot, the character, isn't black. But I guess they were basing him on the Will Smith character, but not really. I don't know.
Exactly right. By making him black, they can nod to the Will Smith character, but they probably don't have the rights and license.
If this is the Jon Stewart Green Lantern, then they have to have another black character shoot him. Is that what they're saying?
Oh, for crying out loud.
I don't know what their beef is with Jon Stewart. I get the impression lately that people over at this part really hate Jon Stewart, and I couldn't figure out why, because I figure, well...
I can tell you why.
Military man?
Oh, that could be part of it. The other part of it... The other part of it is its natural diversity that they didn't have a hand in.
Yeah.
It destroys their narrative of, we've got to wipe away this whole past because it's all bad. You know? Well, wait a minute. What about Jon Stewart? Well, that's bad too, because military and Uncle Tom or something like that.
Now, this is the Flash. Boomerang pisses on his body. Now, before you react, I've heard other things saying he draws a picture of himself pissing on the Flash's body and almost unzips his pants, but then doesn't. No, I think he unzips his pants, but then maybe they don't go too far as to have him actually pissing on the corpse. See? They have standards.
That makes it so much better.
Batman shot in the face by Harley Quinn, and this is the Batman, as I said, I believe from the Arkham Asylum game. So
Mm-hmm.
people aren't happy unless it's an Elseworlds, because Elseworlds makes everything better. It's just the
Well,
excuse.
you can't kill the entire Justice League and have it not be an Elseworld. And let's face it, this is kind of an Elseworld in its own way anyway. But it's like, great way to kill your whole successful game series, guys. That's genius.
Superman killed by Wonder Woman, who dies doing it, of course, because she's the hero. True Pop Culture told me the Squad kills him with gold kryptonite. He just dies, pops down on the floor like it's nothing.
Wait a minute. He's exposed to gold kryptonite and then just dies?
Yes.
Gold kryptonite takes his powers away. That's all
Yeah.
it does.
Well, so what? I would think, too, if Brainiac were to take over the body of a Green Lantern, wouldn't the ring leave that Green Lantern?
Oh, excellent point. Yeah.
And also, I think there's a scene of King Shark putting the ring on. You wouldn't be able to put the ring on if it didn't select you. The ring chooses where it goes.
Exactly. And
So
and
I don't.
you know, if you again, gold kryptonite, the whole purpose of it was and in fact, this is another reason why, you know, I get pissed at people who are like, well, in Superman 2, he killed those guys. Da, 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 da. No. In the comics, that's what gold kryptonite was for. It was literally for taking away the powers of Kryptonians. It made them normal. And then they could be taken off to prison, you know? And if you wanted to kill them, then you use green kryptonite. That's how you kill them.
Yes. They don't know their lore. Let's be honest here.
Clearly not. Yeah.
Tim Drake, apparently Batman kills Tim. All right. The Squad makes references to how big the Hall of Justice is, implying the Justice League is rich while they're poor, and that there is justice for people like them, but not for us. Harley says that. Okay, for starters, Harley came from a different class, didn't she? She was a psychologist.
Yes.
If we're going by the lore there,
yeah.
and she wasn't. It
well,
wasn't until a criminal messed
this
around with her.
This is the typical, you know, modern generation victim mentality. It has nothing to do with the fact that I've been a criminal and lost everything, and you know, no, it's because, you know, it's unfair.
Yeah. Let's see here. If Batman is killed in this game, it really doesn't line up with the Arkham games. Batman died in Arkham Knight, or at least asked it to haunt criminals with the fear toxin. Well, I don't know. I don't know. This is just what the article was saying, but I've just heard a lot of people are upset about this game. I just want to know King Shark gets the ring. Thank you, Bush McFadden, and I think he even recites the Green Lantern saying, you know, in darkest day and blackest night, and I'm just,
which is kind of almost blasphemous, you know.
I know. Well, that's the point. I think
no evil shall escape my sight. What, are you going to walk around looking into a mirror all day?
Yeah, and and they go through more details in this other article. I know how much more time I want to spend on this.
Well, no, we gotta, you know, a couple more articles about it, so we should.
All right, go post it then. Post the next one. I'll read.
Oh, there we go.
I wonder who is minding the store over there, DC. And I'm sorry, I know this is a video game, and maybe Zaslav is an old crusty boomer that doesn't care about games, but kids play the games. Kids get exposed to the heroes, and a lot of the kids that played these Batman games are not happy with how he's been treated in this game. They're people who are horrified by it.
Yeah.
So Kevin Conroy's final scene voicing Batman in the new game Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has been slammed by fans of the late star. Conroy, voice actor, played the voice of Batman in multiple animated shows, died at age 66 in November 2022 following a short battle with cancer. His final voice appeared as the Dark Knight sees the fallen hero killed off in a brutal fashion, with the game set to release on February 2nd. The clip, obtained by YouTuber Alan Gaming, shows King Shark carrying a bloodied Batman to a park bench before the hero looks up at Harley Quinn, who is pointing a gun at his face. Batman is seen with purple eyes after Brainiac turned him evil, with Batman shot in the face by Quinn, killing him. The scene outraged fans, with one writing, "This is a massive disrespect for Kevin Conroy and any Batman fans. There's no reason to play or support this game." Another typed, Harley killing off the guy who kept sparing her through the Arkham series and saying he causes mental and emotional damages like Batman's the real villain was beyond disrespectful. A third wrote, this is exactly one of the reasons why the co-creators of Rocksteady left months before the release of this game. You can't tell me otherwise. Such a disrespectful end to the Arkham Batman. Others wrote, what an absolute slap in the face to Conroy's amazing legacy as Batman. The writers definitely hated Batman. What a terrible way to send off Kevin Conroy. I keep wondering why Conroy even agreed to do the voice acting on this, but for all I know, he just recorded his lines and didn't know the context. I don't
Possibly.
know.
That's very possible. And look, I mean, I've seen the scene. I could totally see the lines being recited and not knowing that he's shot at the end of it. You know, if you're recording for a video game, if I was the voice actor, I'd think, okay, well, this character is in a bad circumstance, and now next scene, the character has the player has an opportunity to turn things around or something. I don't know.
Maybe. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is now out for all, and its early access period was reserved for Deluxe Edition members. Interesting, Deluxe Edition owners on Steam had access to the game since January 30th, and numbers indicate the game did not receive substantial traction on the PC games platform. So it's not doing so hot on Steam. A new report from Game Reactor points towards SteamDB stats, which reveals that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League could only manage an all-time peak of 7,152 concurrent players during the early access period. These numbers pale in comparison to recent AAA games that have launched early access on Steam, including Starfield, which got banned, but that's doing better than this.
It's
which
even
over 200,000 players peak.
It's even worse than this article says. You're going to have to scroll up because I dropped it a little soon. But the next article gets into it's even worse than what this article said about how badly it's doing.
Oh, this one right here that I have clicked on? That's what I'm reading from.
Is this the one where player searches for refunds shoot up to almost 800%? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Maybe I didn't have the one clicked on for the last one. Oh, well. However, now that Suicide Squad is out for all users, it is expected that an all-time peak would increase as gamers with the Standard Edition version can now hop to the title, which is canon to the esteemed Arkhamverse franchise. The turbulent launch is related to a variety of bugs and issues with the game, which forced developer Rocksteady Studios to pull the game offline twice within 24 hours of launch. Players who bought the game are clearly not happy, and Windows Central report that player search requests for Suicide Squad refund are up 791%. I believe on Steam you can get a refund for your game that you recently purchased.
There you go.
They do offer refunds, so I think this thing is going to get refunded. I don't know how it's going to do on consoles, but this doesn't sound good. And I've heard, I watch plenty of gaming YouTubers, and I remember Dreamcast guy said this week, it's not a question of whether or not this game is going to bomb. It's a question of how big of a bomb it's going to be.
That's interesting.
So this is more money out of Warner Brothers' pockets, and I don't get it. I remember reading Gold Kryptonite permanently removed his powers, says Matanui.
Yep, it permanently renewed his... And interestingly, if you are a Kryptonian who loses his abilities through gold kryptonite, green kryptonite no longer affects you.
Interesting.
And if as you get into the Bronze Age and you get into how kryptonite works, how it's a radiation that literally takes the place in your cells the way solar radiation is absorbed. It kind of pushes out the solar radiation with something poisonous. Well, if you now are whatever mechanism that gold kryptonite takes up that place, so it drives it all out. Well, you can't absorb green kryptonite radiation. You can't absorb solar radiation. You know, you're just inert now. You know. Yeah, John Byrne back in the day kind of thought this stuff through.
No, I mean, there's lore, and I'm sorry, you can get access to the lore. You can watch one of the animated movies. You can go on a wiki and look it up there. What is gold kryptonite?
For crying out loud, the fans are doing this. They're reading Wikipedia, and they're seeing all different, stories and interpretation, and retcons and all this kind of stuff and the change in lore. Watch Casually Comics. Sasha is always talking about, back in the day, in the Silver Age it was like this, and then in the Bronze Age they changed it to this, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, If you can't put in the time and energy, you shouldn't be working on it. Guess what? You got to do the work.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, maybe you do the work, and maybe there is someone on the team that was trying to correct things, and then suddenly Sweet Baby Inc. came in and said, "No, no, no, you. This is about the message," as the critical drinker says.
Well, I'm getting tired of people going, people don't like it. It's the fans' fault. No, you didn't do the work. If you did the work, it would be good, and you'd be doing well.
Yeah, refunds policy for Steam. You played less than 2 hours and have for less than 2 weeks. So keep that in mind if you buy a game on Steam and you don't take to it, you can get a refund. I think Xbox has a similar deal, but you can only do it so many times. I'm not sure. I think Sony may have a similar policy. Nintendo, you buy it, you're stuck with it.
Well, hopefully
no refunds.
Hopefully, in a situation like this, there's enough hubbub about it that they know to expect people to be coming for their money back.
Yeah. So yeah.
A little more Warner Brothers news, but it's not related to the games at all.
Well, it is in one perspective, though. They have to. I'm sorry. You have to get all aspects of DC under control. Like, you have to have your Batman game being the best Batman game it could be, and your Batman cartoon being the best Batman cartoon it could be, so people want to go see your Batman
And the
movie.
lore has to be right enough so that it actually is Batman and not, whatever woke man you decided it is now.
And I gave points when they made the Batman Arkham games that instead of just trying to base it off the movies or the comics, they just made their own Batman universe for the games, but it still honored the comics. And
yes, there was enough lore there that it was like you could imagine if you squint and turn your head sideways that it was, any one of the Batmans that you loved.
Exactly. Millie Alcock, if I'm saying her name correctly, to play heroine in James Gunn's DC movies. So I'm assuming who she's playing has not been announced yet, but people are already guessing it's a certain character that's already been announced making a movie based on. Warner Brothers' Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, is taking flight with House of the Dragon star Millie Alcock. The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. Oh, well, never mind, it's been confirmed. Okay. She will star in the future as Kara Zor-El. Oh, wait, let me go to her picture. Hold on. Oh, wait. Oh, that's the horrible bloody picture of Batman. Sorry. Look at that. That is horribly, just horrible. Yeah. Okay, there we go. There she is.
Which, I'm glad you used this picture, because I saw my only exposure to her was stills that I was seeing from House of the Dragon. And I'm looking at her going,
no.
I'm not so sure about this. The hair color, especially the difference between the hair color and the eyebrows. And I was like, I don't know.
This at leaks.
This I could see. I could see this girl playing Supergirl. Now, I have never seen House of the Dragon, so I don't know what she's like as an actress. I don't know what her voice sounds like. I know none of that. But I mean, you're in a big production like that. She's probably a pretty talented actress, so
I'm assuming. I also know Warner Brothers tends to like to use its own cast of actors, so they're going to find something for.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Alcock screen tested for DC Studios bosses James Gunn and Peter Safran last week, along with Meg Donnelly, who was also in contention for the role. Who's Meg Donnelly?
No,
I want to look her up. Why don't you look her up? Okay.
Meg Donnelly?
Meg Donnelly, Donnelly. I should have done that before the stream. Okay, who was also in contention for the role of the character.
Oh, yeah, she but she's got the same thing going where she's got the real dark eyebrows and blonde hair. But, yeah, maybe.
The character is expected to appear in a DC studio project or two before a solo adventure, but it's unclear if that project will begin Superman Legacy. Well, yeah, let's keep throwing more DC characters in the Superman Legacy. Because Superman can't have his own movie. I'm sorry. Anyway, which begins filming this spring, or another DC movie or show. Supergirl is moving like a speeding locomotive, and it's possible the future could be shooting in the fall if Warner soon finds a director. Anna Nogueira is penning the script. I don't know who that is. Alcock broke out as the younger version of Rhaenyra Targaryen in Season 1 of HBO's House of Dragon, a spin-off of Game of Thrones. Now she enters the comic book realm with the new feature, partially inspired by the Tom King and Bilquis Evely miniseries of the same name. Millie is a fantastically talented young actor, and I'm incredibly excited about her being part of the DCU, Gunn wrote on social media on Monday. Yes, I first became aware of her in House of the Dragon, but was blown away by her varied auditions and screen tests for Supergirl. He added that she embodied the character as envisioned by comic book writer King, comic book artist Evely, and screenwriter Nogueira. Gunn and Safran.
I shared with you a picture of Meg Donnelly. It's actually a good one that I'm looking at her going, yeah, I could see Supergirl there too. But again, lighten those eyebrows up a little bit.
Eyebrows don't quite match, yeah.
You know.
Remember, they're almost have the same eyebrows. Wait a minute.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm getting the impression that this is really common. But it used to be if you're a brunette and you dye your hair blonde, right? You know, you do something to lighten up those, and there's a lot you could do with makeup, you know, and eyebrows, but it's like they're going and darkening their eyebrows so that it contrasts with their hair, and that's a look, and it's not a good look for this particular character.
I do have to answer Deletions. Can we stop putting Game of Thrones people and everything? Here's the issue with Game of Thrones, the series, at least when it was on. It was almost like a BBC or like production like Doctor Who. Like every British actor almost shows up on that show.
Because you knew them from something before it. Now they're in this, and you're going to see them in other stuff too, you know.
But that's what made Peter Dinklage odd. He was an American actor on the show, whereas most of them were British. Man, I went nuts in the chat tonight. I don't know what you did. Is that where she's from? England, I'm assuming. I mean, maybe she's American. I don't know.
It doesn't matter as long as she puts on a. Well, they'll probably have her do a Kryptonian accent. I don't know.
Kryptonian accent. Okay. Gunn and Safran have said that she's not the Supergirl audiences are used to. She will stand in contrast to her awful cousin, Superman. As Gunn told reporters late January 2023, we'll see differences between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant. We've heard this before. This isn't a repeat of what we heard in the past. I don't like the sound of that. I didn't grow up on a picturesque farm, Clark. You know, I don't want to see her sassing Superman. I'm done. Let's leave Superman alone.
Well, I mean, there could be a compelling story there if you do the whole, I grew up with my parents, I remember my parents, I'm an orphan now. You know, that's some good story. And especially with a teenage, you know, superhero, that could be very compelling if it's done well. I just don't have enough faith in the writing of these hacks that have been doing these stories lately. You know?
I just don't know about this movie. I don't want to come out as a hater right away because, maybe we may get into that discussion next week with George R. Martin's latest comments. But
yes,
the anti-fan. We'll talk about that next week. Unless we get overloaded again. But let's move on to a couple of positive articles to wrap up this stream with.
Yeah.
And to be fair, maybe this is positive. Maybe she'll blow us away. Okay, maybe this will be a great Superman movie. But I'm not trusting anything from Warner Brothers right now. But we'll see.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything to get fired up about, and I've been burned too many times to get my hopes up.
You said you've been burned too many times. Look, there's flames right there. See?
Yeah.
Universal's new Epic Universe theme park revealed, Nintendo, Harry Potter, Dark Universe, and more. There's the website, IGN, but it's on all the different websites. I am rather excited for this. Maybe, you know, the future is theme parks for now for your entertainment needs, if you can afford to take the trip to one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one advantage of living in Florida.
Well, I understand that it's a lot more cost-effective to go to Universal than it is to Disney.
And they have more stuff.
And they're going to have more, it sounds like.
Yeah, this is a brand new theme park, and we were speculating on this a while back, and I kept thinking, what are the different parks going to be? Because we knew Nintendo was going to be one of the sections, but we knew there were other sections. Well, they finally revealed what they are.
Yeah.
Universal's new Epic Universe theme park revealed, Nintendo, Harry Potter, Dark Universe, and more. Universal Orlando Resort has revealed the first details of 2025's Universal Epic Universe theme park, a portal-connected land that will send fans to the worlds of Nintendo, Harry Potter, How to Train Your Dragon, the monster-filled Dark Universe, and Celestial Park. Universal Epic Universe is being called Universal's most ambitious theme park yet, and it looks to include over 50 attractions, entertainment, dining, and shopping experiences. These experiences will be spread across Super Nintendo World, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic. So they have Harry Potter sections in the other two parks. This park's section for Harry Potter will be the Ministry.
Well,
of Magic.
think about it. It makes perfect sense that they expand Harry Potter. That's one of their most popular attractions.
Yeah,
right?
You get people still coming to those parks, in the other parks. So yeah, and I've been to
people are coming back and going to the same things over and over again.
Over and over again.
If you now give them more new stuff, holy cow, people will squee.
Be interesting if they tie this Ministry of Magic to Hogwarts Legacy, the game that came out. That might be interesting.
I would not be surprised. I bet you there will be something there. You know.
So there's How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, Dark Universe, and Celestial Park. Okay, so let's move on. Let's go down. Speaking of Celestial Park, it will be the first world fans will explore when they first enter Universal Epic Universe, and alongside putting the park back in theme park with acres of rolling gardens, chasing waterways, and strolling pathways, alongside architecture inspired by astronomical and mythical environments, it will be the gateway into the other worlds. Just please include benches.
Yes, of course.
This was a complaint for Galaxy's Edge that there were no benches anywhere. Let people sit down after they walk a bit. All right.
Exactly.
A portal into our favorite worlds. We'll get to the fun of Celestial Park as planned.
Actually, you know what? More than benches, make the benches look like they belong in whatever world you're in.
Makes sense.
You know.
That makes sense. Yeah. We'll get to the fun Celestial Park as planned in a moment, but the biggest landmarks will be the portals that will take guests to other worlds of their favorite properties. Universal Epic Universe is all about immersion and telling a larger story, and Celestial Park is being built on the centerpiece of that tale.
Such a novel concept. I can't imagine anyone else would, any other parks wouldn't have done that by now. Shocking.
Remember Disney in the old days when they used to use...
I do! That's why this is all so sad.
The first portal will take guests to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, Universal Orlando's third Harry Potter land, following Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley.
I was just going to say, as you go through it, you have to say, Diagon Alley!
Maybe. You get to go on the train between the two parks. The two park rides. You can actually go on the Harry Potter train and go the was it the
I want one of those chocolate frogs.
You can get them there. They don't.
They
don't jump though.
Oh yeah, well give me an opportunity. They'll jump.
I've had a cold cake before. They sell those there too.
Cool.
According to the official description, guests will discover a different era of the Wizarding World, an all-new land that blends 1920s Wizarding Paris from Warner Brothers Pictures' Fantastic Beasts and the iconic Ministry of Magic from the Harry Potter series. I knew they were planning to do something with Fantastic Beasts, but that series crashed and burned a bit, didn't it?
Doesn't really matter though, because it's part of the lore, and the fans are still going to enjoy it. It just fills out the immersion,
So that's a picture I have up right now. This is a picture from one of the Harry Potter parks right now.
Yeah.
But this is the other park, and as you see, the little Yoshis. I remember when I first saw clips of the Japanese park, and I was a little flabbergasted because I thought it was a game at first, and I was like, no, those are actual animatronics moving around.
Yep.
Super Nintendo World is up next, and it will serve as Orlando's much-anticipated version of the Mario-themed land, and is already opened in Japan and California. Per Universal, this will be a land where guests will enter the iconic pipe and discover a new way to play as they step into the worlds of beloved characters like Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Donkey Kong. For those with a love of dragons, How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk will be one portal not to be missed. Once guests enter this land, they will be able to soar with dragons in a colorful world filled with Viking adventures based on the widely popular How to Train Your Dragon film.
That's the key. Between dragons and Vikings, even if you've never seen those movies, you're like, oh, I could get into this.
That's a clip from a Universal Beijing resort, I think, where they did a play or something.
Cool.
How to Train Your Dragon. I'm just throwing random things in there.
Yeah.
And have you seen those movies, the How to Train Your Dragon?
I saw the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good.
Okay. Hold on, let me get back into this. Last up is the spooky Dark Universe.
Yeah. I was a little reticent until, some people I admire kind of, alleviated my concerns, yeah.
A place where guests will encounter everything from the experiments of Dr. Victoria Frankenstein to the shadowy landscape where monsters roam in a world of myth and mystery. And yes, this will be the same name as Universal's shared monster universe, which we're still waiting to get off the ground. Maybe they're seeing how the attractions do at the park. But the interesting that's actually a picture from one of the Halloween Horror Nights mazes.
That is the other
returns. Yeah,
that is the other key that a lot of people are pointing out. You put in a Dark Universe, Universal Monsters section of the park that's, you know, freestanding all year round. Well, let's face it, people are going to love it because there's people that are going to enjoy it all year round. But then for your Halloween, you know, to do, then you do it up big, right? And it's you've already got the built-in structures and everything. And yeah, the images that I saw, I was like, okay. I especially like this interpretation of the Frankenstein monster. My concern was, of course, wait, Victoria Frankenstein? Are we just getting a gender swap for no reason? Come to find out that everyone that was reporting on it, this comes from that park place, was saying, yeah, you know, this is the granddaughter of Victor Frankenstein. They're not changing the lore; they're changing the time frame. This is a more modern day kind of thing. I'm like, oh, okay, that I can live with, but I had a little concern. This is their problem, not mine. There's already been 2 versions of Victoria Frankenstein in fiction. One was that movie that you were telling me about,
Lady Frankenstein, yeah,
from Lady Frankenstein. The other is from Marvel Comics. So it's like, yeah, you got to be real careful here that we don't end up with some sort of a, you know, a rights issue. But there is no doubt that is. And this was my biggest concern. What are these creatures going to look like? What is Frankenstein going to look like? What is the Wolfman going to look like? And it's like, okay, they look enough like the Universal characters, but kind of a little bit updated. I'm digging it. I'm really, really digging it.
Do you know what my guess is behind this? They're probably wanting to make it distinct from the old Universal monsters, but maybe treating it as like a follow-up to those old movies.
Yeah.
It also could be maybe they're testing the waters. If these theme park characters, these new characters are creating this theme park area prove popular, then maybe they could use them as a basis for a film series.
Well, and here's the other thing, too. If you do it in a theme park like this, you've seen it at many different theme parks. Sometimes they rework things, they change things. You could call it a retcon, but since every day is a new story, that's perfectly fine, you know? So they try something, the fans don't like it, they rejigger it a little bit, then the fans start to really dig it, and they're like, okay, let's codify this. Let's go ahead and do a movie, you know?
I've really enjoyed their Halloween Horror Nights where they have the mazes, and they've done mazes based on the classic monsters as well as the newer stuff too. So I went to one that was based on Dracula one year.
Good.
You think they'll do a Dracula themed area?
Oh yeah, I've already seen the artwork for that. That's another one that, you know, I'm like, okay. I didn't really like the outfit they had him wearing, but it's an outfit. You know, if it doesn't catch on, they'll change it. But
here's the tricky part. This is Halloween Horror Nights. The things, it's clearly aimed at adults, not really for kids, right?
Right.
You know, they even serve alcohol there. You can get a beer, or you can get shots, and you can go to these. I don't want to say tawdry shows, but like they're not Disney type shows. You understand? It's not necessarily supposed to be a family outing. They do the Bill and Ted show.
Interesting.
They used to do it each year. Yeah, it was Bill and Ted, and then they would encounter all the movie characters of the movies that came out over the summer. And I think one year, one of the villains was Britney Spears. After she shaved her head, she was the villain in one year.
That's just crazy.
But they always had the actors playing Bill and Ted and what they were dealing with, you know, from the time travel movies. But,
yeah.
So let's see, though. But there's also Celestial Park. So much more than just the Gateway to the Lands. Thrill seekers will be delighted to know Starfall racers will be the star attraction of this world. The dual launching racing coasters will see groups of guests race at speeds for up to 62 miles per hour and heights of up to 133 feet along 5,000 feet of track. Starfall racers will also feature a maneuver called Celestial Spin, in which 2 coaster vehicles perform an inverted crisscross while speeding through the air. Wow.
Yeah.
Who knows? This could be the star attraction of the park for all we know. Kids will be able to escape the Florida heat with the Astronomica interactive wet play area, space filled with fountains that also serve as a compass to the other worlds. Almost sounds like those dancing fountains in Epcot where kids could play around with them.
Yeah.
Have a ton of food options, including Atlantic, a full-service surf and turf restaurant set in a Victorian aquarium, complete with captivating views of Celestial Park. I'm in.
Yeah.
That might be kind of neat, right?
Yep.
It'd be interesting if one area of this park was like a steampunk area. I don't know. That might be kind of neat if they did like a steampunk theme or something. But there will also be the Blue Dragon Pan Asian restaurant, which comes with a menu of authentic dishes from China, Japan, and Thailand, and decor of neon dragons and ethereal lanterns. Additionally, there will also be a barbecue joint called the Oak Star Tavern and a pizza shop called Pizza Moon alongside the Nintendo Superstore, Moonship Chocolates, and Celestial Sweets, and much more. Yeah, they're going big with this. I'll say this for Universal. I'm not always on board with their movies because I think they play it safe too much, but they know how to do parks. I'll say that. So, I don't know. What do you think, huh?
Yeah, I think this is going to be kind of cool. But I'll wait until you go and tell me how good it is before I come down.
I don't know when I'll be heading up there, but I'll definitely go at some point.
There you go.
It's funny. I had my last graduation present was going to Universal. Maybe that'll be my next one, But because we went to we did the whole Harry Potter thing the last time I graduated.
I could actually see you go for like, I don't know. I could see like going for a weekend, and maybe one day all Universal monsters, and then the next day all Harry Potter, or vice versa.
How do you make it safe? Well, you know what it is, though. I'll say this about Universal monsters. There is something known as what I call the safe monsters and the safe horror. And I think Universal horror, at least the old school stuff, I think it's kind of safe enough for kids, don't you?
I think so. Yeah, because I remember seeing the old Universal Monster movies literally in grade school, and they showed them in our school, for the movie nights. They were horror, in inverted commas, but, no one was really scared by them. You got I get that this is supposed to be scary, but I'm not scared, You know
what's funny, though? When the original Frankenstein premiered in theaters, there was outrage. People were fainting in the audience. For starters, on screen, when you see the hanging body, that was the first time you ever saw a hanging body in a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's commonplace, and we think, it's
See,
just a dummy. But
here's
back then,
the thing, though.
People freaked out.
I like to keep these things in perspective because I do believe that our historical memory, what we get from, and let's face it, most of history is coming from things like the media. The media played up people passing out and running out of the theaters and stuff. That was marketing. That wasn't necessarily the thing that happened. A lot of people would go see these movies and go, I'm not seeing what all the hype was about. It's a good movie, but, And you got to also remember, you're right. You didn't see a lot of, a hanged body and this and that and the other. But there were pre-code movies where there was a lot of things in them that people to this day would still raise their eyebrows at. So nobody was overly shocked. They knew this was a possibility going to a movie like this.
I have one of those pre-code movies that has Barbara Stanwyck in it.
Yes, I know the one you mean.
Okay, the ruining men's lives with her beauty.
Yeah.
What was I going to say, though? What was I going to... but I did want to make a point that, even like the first Hammer Dracula movie, when the credits start rolling, you see blood pouring over splotching onto the coffin. And that was a huge deal back then. You didn't see blood like that in a movie, like a color movie, like the big red blood. And I suspect in some parts of the world they had a different alternate opening title that wasn't that coffin with the blood on it.
And again, with the Universal ones, think about it. You don't see blood. You don't see fangs. The fangs were something that started with Hammer. That wasn't a Universal thing.
You're going to have fangs in this park.
Probably.
Because you want to sell them to customers.
Well, look at what they did with Renfield. That was, they nod to the stereotypical, two incisor, fangs, but this was after you'd seen him through the rest of the movie with like all sharp teeth. You know, and then at one point, for a certain reason, these two grow out longer. But
Right.
you know, Renfield was a great example of what I think we're going to be seeing with this. It's supposed to be the same monsters you remember, little bit updated, you know, and it kind of works.
Final story of the night.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you should be excited about this.
I am happy about this.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the last of Dr. Robotnik. Jim Carrey will reprise his role as the mad scientist in the formidable facial hair in Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
That is an epic mustache, let me say.
It'd be funny if he really grew that mustache out for the role. But anyway,
it takes years to grow a mustache like that, so let's assume that's not real.
He grew this out at the end of the first movie when he got stuck on a mushroom planet and was just... I think that's when he decided to shave his head and he grew the mustache. And he was going nuts, basically, because he ended up on this mushroom planet. I enjoy this series, and Jim Carrey is one of the main reasons. He's just allowed to just cut loose and just play a villain. Basically a trolling mustache villain who's just,
Yeah.
We don't get that in Hollywood nowadays. Even with the Disney movies, they don't like doing just the straight up villains. I'm just bad. That's what I am. The news comes despite the fact that, and here there be spoilers, the second film in the series ended with Dr. Robotnik falling from a giant robot to the ground below a potentially fatal tumble. In the film's post-credit scene, however, revealed that Dr. Robotnik's body has not been found, setting the stage for Sonic's main antagonist to make a dramatic return. Now, what I originally thought when I saw this movie, we heard Jim Carrey was retiring, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm retiring from acting. I think basically what the filmmakers did, they needed a back door in case he wasn't going to come back.
Yeah.
So then they revealed the Shadow Project, the Shadow the Hedgehog. And I think he's still going to be the antagonist of this new movie is Shadow the Hedgehog. But I think they were leaving room open for him to return, but also if he didn't return, they had their bases covered. But looks like he is coming back. And he's a lot of fun in these movies. I would argue you should watch these movies just for his performance in them. It's very good. But the combined global box office for Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 stands at $870.8 million. Hence the enthusiasm of Paramount, the studio behind the video game adaptations for another installment in the franchise. The studio is also making a spin-off series, Knuckles, that will premiere on Paramount+. Carrey's return was teased on social media, with Sonic filmmakers releasing a teaser that included Dr. Robotnik's distinctive cackle. I'm surprised that Disney doesn't try to make a Sonic theme park in one of their parks or section.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make sense?
Which is exactly why it won't happen.
Okay, yes, I know. But apparently Knuckles will premiere on Paramount Plus. It's so funny seeing Idris Elba as the voice of Knuckles. You know Idris Elba, right? He plays the voice of Knuckles.
Oh,
He's getting his own series. Like, what's the series going to be about? He gets a part-time job at like an ice cream shop or something.
Right.
I'm just wondering if it's just going to be him doing these ridiculous things because he's the main antagonist of the second Sonic movie. But Jeff Fowler oversaw the first two movies, is returning as the director of the latest sequel. Neil H. Moritz, Toby Asher, Toru Nakahara, and Hitoshi Okono will produce the film, which will open in theaters on December 20th, 2024. Do you remember when this movie, the first trailer for this movie, got unveiled for Sonic 1, and people hated the look of Sonic, and there was an outcry?
Yep.
The media was attacking the fans, and what happened? Sega actually listened, they changed the look of Sonic, and the movie was a big hit.
Yep.
They realized they made a mistake, they course-corrected, and they fixed the problem. And I don't know why this can't happen with other franchises. Like, why can't this happen with Star Wars or other things?
Look, it depends on the company. If the company wants to make money and be successful, that's what they do. They make intelligent decisions based on the market. If they only care about pushing their message and not making money, well, just do whatever you're going to do and, blame the fans and go out of business. That's fine.
Oh, I hope you're wrong, Boosh, that it's just not him showing up at the very end of the movie or something with a cameo. Of course, it could set up part 4, I guess. I want them to introduce Metal Sonic. That's the robotic Sonic the Hedgehog that Dr. Robotnik creates.
Sonic Robotnik. There you go.
It's a robot Sonic. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
the villain in Sonic CD, and he was terrifying. Of course, he doesn't speak though. He's like a Terminator Sonic, basically. That's how we refer to him as. All right. Well, that's it for the night. There is.
Well, at least that's it for the night for us. Of course, as soon as you finish up here, go and get yourself a drink and hit the head.
Spritzer.
And then get back to Deleted Scenes channel to wrap up your weekend with The Other Side of Midnight at 11 Central, midnight Eastern. There's the link for you.
This was a tough week for geek news, I thought. What do you think?
Yeah. But
So, thank you.
Today I was going back and looking at some of our old streams. Some predictions that came true, some that didn't, some things I got upset about that turned out not to be anything. Some I had not even a clue. But you remember there was a time that we were doing Geeky Geezers before we were calling it Geeky Geezers.
It was back when it was Study Hall. I remember those
we called
days.
It Study Hall, yeah. But we grew up since then. We've
grown up since then. Yeah, Netter is actually the one that came up with the title for the show.
Yes, her. She did, yes. and it was Big Al approved because it was an alliteration. So we got 2 thumbs up on that one.
I see.
But yeah. And so over on my channel, I've been going back and looking every time I do a stream like tonight's stream.
Right.
I consider this a guest appearance because I'm guesting on Age of Boomers channel. When I do the rewatches with Netter or with Al, it's a guest appearance. Well, my guest appearances number over 600. So I was like, I think I need to start breaking that down into smaller playlists. So I've got one for Geeky Geezers, which includes the clips that you do from the show.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and one for all of the rewatches, whether it's my channel or Netter's or Al's, I have under rewatches, but then I have them separate playlist for retro cinema, separate one for Big Al Presents, and stuff like that. But I'm only 200 in, so I'm about a third of the way through all of my guest appearances. But it'll make it easier if you want to go back to certain streams and rewatch them. Especially for you, if you want to go back and see, the Geeky Geezers, I got a playlist already that I'm working on. So
remember the salad days of us talking about Jason Killar in charge of Warner Brothers, Warner Media? Those days.
Yes.
That was always early on. The day and date thing. We were talking about the day and date thing early on, which was a disaster. Remember, we were like, what are you doing?
I just looked at again the clip that you did from when we did the talk about Howard the Duck. That is probably one of your biggest videos. I
think that was your thumbnail. I think people saw.
It was the thumbnail, and I keep coming back to this every 6 months or so. You've got thousands of views on it. It's more and more all the time, and the number of likes goes up a little bit, but the number of dislikes goes up too because people I don't know what they're expecting to find when they click on it.
They were probably expecting to see more of certain characters that were depicted in the thumbnail.
It's like if you've seen the movie, you kind of you got the best shot. Maybe the kids
don't know it, and they were just thinking, "Hey, this is going to be something."
Which is what the video is about. Go see the movie now, you dumbasses. But
anyway.
I figure it's doing pretty well for you. It's one you want to make sure you keep on your channel. Even if you archive all the rest, you might want to keep that one going because it still gets traction to this day.
Oh, y'all be sure to hit that like button, but also check out these other channels. Be sure to subscribe to Sin's Corner and also Deleted Scenes. He will be doing his streams shortly.
Yeah.
And so there. I was on his stream a bit last week.
And we will be on with him again on Tuesday for Sparkwood and 21, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. We're getting close to the midway point. Not even. We're still a little bit before the midway point of season 2. So we are getting close to wrapping up the overall mystery of or I guess I should say the primary mystery of who killed Laura Palmer, but there's a lot of other mysteries starting, so definitely want to jump in on that as we take you through a deep dive of a very wondrous place called Twin Peaks.
We were left with Harold Smith doing something to his face, so yeah.
Yeah, he's having a hard time because the kids decided to steal Laura Palmer's try to steal Laura Palmer's diary, which he was entrusted with. He takes it very seriously. He gave his word that he would protect it. And that brings us around to Thursday on Netter's Network. Netter, what are we watching on, or what are we doing on Thursday?
Netter?
Never mind. I guess I'll figure it out.
That'll be Thursday's thing. Jedi Bill.
Jedi Bill will be on Thursday things with Netter of Netter's Network. That is something to look forward to. You know what? I will. It's really, if you like my channel, you like Netter's channel, you like Aged Boomer's channel, and especially if you like Deleted Scenes channel, you're going to want to tune in on Thursday as we talk with Jedi Bill, because I'm going to talk at least a little bit, sharing with him a little bit of how he has impacted all of our channels. There's a lot of great things that you may love about our channels that are directly because of advice that we got from Jedi Bill. So
yes,
we will be talking more about that on Thursday. Friday, Friday we're going to take a little detour from our world tour, going to different countries looking for alternate entertainment, because Hollywood in the modern day has let us down, and we're just going to take a step back to a slice of Americana, where some great plays have been written, and because they were such good plays, they got turned into movies. And one of those is a David Mamet production called Glengarry Glen Ross. We've been talking about doing it for a very long time, and we will do a rewatch of that on my channel on Friday at 9 Central. 10 Eastern, and I will be drinking, I promise you.
There's a lot of drinking in that movie, too.
There absolutely is. Maybe we should make it... Should we make it into a drinking game? Every time someone takes a drink in the movie, you got to take a drink in real life?
Well, yeah, maybe.
Will I be dead by the end of the movie?
Richard Roma, played by the great Al Pacino. Yes, we'll see it on Friday.
And then that brings us around to Saturday, where we will be over on Big Al Presents for a watch party of, I don't remember what we're watching on Big Al Presents. Let me check his channel really quick, because I know he shared it with us. Big Al Presents on the YouTubes. We will be watching live. Yeah, I want live, not videos. Oh, yes! A Million Ways to Die in the West. Seth MacFarlane and a bunch of other people. It's very funny. Don't look for, historically accurate Western depictions here. This is, meant to be tongue-in-cheek. So, lots and lots of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, and that is the week in review, my friends.
Y'all have a good week. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.